There was thunder and lightning at night. The lights in the building were off, except for one room which was still on. The rest of the people left work early, and Yananfin was left in the company. He just graduated a year ago and is a new employee. Maybe it's because of this that his boss seems to dislike him. He has been asked to work overtime many times, and his boss always finds a lot of problems for him and gives him a deadline to solve them within the same day. Today is no exception. Looking at the heavy rain, lightning, and thunder outside the window, Yananfin felt very unfair. Why don't these oppressive capitalists just die? Just as he finished saying this, there was a flash of lightning outside the window and Yananfin fell on the table. When Yananfin woke up, he was holding a torch in his hand. Why am I here? He clearly remembered that he was working overtime just now. If he failed to finish the work, he would definitely be scolded by the capitalist tomorrow. Host, hello. I am System 007, and I am happy to serve you. A voice rang in Yananfin's mind. He looked around and was puzzled as it was a remote place with no other living creatures. Host, no need to look for me, I'm in your mind. Yananfin was shocked. Am I dreaming? The system solved his doubts. Host, you died suddenly due to long-term overtime and staying up late. I happened to find you when I passed by and decided to save you. You should thank me for giving you a chance to be reborn. Yazima pinched his thigh and it hurt. He then looked at his outfit, which looked like ancient clothing. He usually likes to read novels like Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Water Margin, which are full of fighting and killing. When he thought about going through such fighting and killing himself, he instantly shook his head. How can I get back? My full name is the Extreme Villain Mission System, which is to assist you in playing the role of a villain. In every book there is a villain that everyone hates. The more heinous the villain's actions are, the more satisfying the reader will feel when the protagonist eliminates the villain. Host, you just need to play the ultimate villain well and get enough points, then you can get a chance to be reborn. Yananfin, how many points can I get back? Only 100,000,000. Yananfin counted the string of zeros in his mind, 1,000,000. How is this possible? The higher the reader's satisfaction, the higher the points. Host, don't worry, you can definitely do it. There was no choice but to do what the system said. During this year of being exploited by the company, Yananfin didn't learn anything else, but he was trained to be 100% patient and obedient. What do I need to do now? This book is called Master of the Immortal Path. In this book, you, the host, play the role of Fu Ping, the second in command of the demon cult. The people in the demon cult are evil. Now, you need to complete the task of arson. Yananfin looked at the burning torch in his hand. No wonder he saw this thing when he woke up. It turned out that the original owner wanted to do something bad, but he might not have reached the place yet. He looked around and saw that this was a relatively remote place, surrounded by fresh plants, so it should not be able to catch fire. He walked forward for a distance and saw a yard that looked like it had been abandoned for a long time. Just in case, he went in to check and found that there was no one there and no signs of anyone living there. He felt relieved and threw the torch onto the roof with peace of mind. The house was made of thatch and wooden boards. After the torch was thrown on it, it quickly caught fire and the fire instantly burned the entire yard. The house was quickly burned down. Suddenly a strong wind blew up, blowing the flames onto the vegetation nearby. Under the scorching flames, the surrounding plants also gradually burned. Seeing this, Yananfin immediately wanted to step forward to put out the fire, but was forced away by the fire. If this continues, the whole mountain will be burned down. This is a small matter. If there are people living on the mountain, there will be no time to escape. He felt panicked, and suddenly remembered this system. Maybe there is some way. 007, is there any way to put out the fire? 007 looked at this host who couldn't even start a fire properly and felt a little panicked. He wondered if he had chosen the wrong person. There are firefighting items, but you, the host, have 0 points now, so you can't buy them. Yananfin, okay, give it to me on credit first, and I'll pay you back when I earn points. The system was clearly reluctant. I have never given credit before. Yananfin, if you don't lend it to me, I will have nothing left in a while. If you lend it to me now, I promise to complete the task well and return the points to you. Let me check. Heavy rain props, 200 points can be exchanged. Yananfin, okay, let's take this one, hurry up. The rainstorm props were exchanged successfully, total points, -200. Immediately after the props were exchanged, heavy rain began to fall from the sky, and in less than a quarter of an hour, the fire was put out. Yananfen was soaked like a drowned rat. He couldn't help but feel unhappy in his heart. He didn't do anything but still owed 200 yuan. He walked forward and saw another family, and saw someone collecting clothes outside. Just as he was about to go in to borrow a piece of clothing to change, the man at the door saw him and immediately called the woman next to him to hide in the house in a panic, and closed the door tightly. He felt puzzled, but when he thought that he was the second in command of the demon cult and that these people might know him, it seemed normal. When Yananfen approached the city, he thought that he would be a scene where everyone would shout and beat him, but the people in the city didn't seem to recognize this face. He felt that he had a lot of silver on him, so he decided to go to the inn to rest for a night and change his clothes. The next day, Yananfen was walking on the street and heard people talking about him. "Passerby A, have you heard? The people of the demon cult can set fire out of thin air." "Passerby B, is this true?" "Passerby A, it's true. Old Lee who lives in the mountain saw it with his own eyes. Yesterday he saw a man who didn't look very serious. He waved his hand and the house caught fire." "Passerby C, no way, is the demon cult so rampant now? The Xiaoyao sect is still on that mountain, and they actually dared to set fire to the mountain." "Passerby A, it's amazing. According to Old Lee, yesterday, after the cult member lit the fire, there was a violent storm. After the fire was put out, the rain stopped immediately, as if it was specially designed to put out the fire." "Passerby B, maybe it was done by the leader of Xiaoyao sect. He can monitor the people in the demon sect." "Passerby C, do you know what the demon cult is doing from such a distance?" "Passerby B, of course. The demon cult has not dared to make any major moves for so many years. It's all thanks to the Xiaoyao sect." The following content was basically just bragging about how powerful the Xiaoyao sect was, and Yananfen stopped listening. Successfully created a negative image of the villain among the people. Bad guy points +100, total points, -100. Yananfen, can this also add points? Chapter 2, the villain flirts with a good man. Yes, any behavior that can create a negative image of the villain will get extra points. Yananfen, then why didn't I get any points for successfully setting the fire yesterday? It was all seen by the old Lee they mentioned. I forgot about it yesterday, so I'll add it now. Successfully completed the arson mission. Bad guy points +100, total points, 0. Yananfen, what is the task today? Robbery. Today, a group of people will pass by Nanshan. The host's task is to rob them of all their money. The corners of Yananfen's mouth twitched upwards in embarrassment. He found that this system did not care about people's life or death when issuing tasks. He was alone, going to rob a group of people. Wasn't this just courting death? Yananfen, I am the second in command of the demon cult. Do I have any powerful martial arts or special skills? Sorry, the original owner became the second in command of the demon cult by just talking, and he didn't have any martial arts or skills. Yananfen wanted to cry, but couldn't. He cursed this system in his heart no less than 100 times, but still walked towards Nanshan reluctantly. He was waiting at the intersection leading into the city. This was how he had always been seen on TV. And this place seemed to lead to several roads, so he should be able to wait for someone. Yananfen waited in this place for several hours and finally heard footsteps. He looked up and was completely attracted by the appearance of the person in front of him. The person walking in the front was definitely not an ordinary mortal. He looked like an immortal. He stood straight with handsome features. His face was cold and abstinent. Yananfen is actually obsessed with appearance, and he is gay. Seeing such a face, he can't even walk. He didn't wake up until a group of people were about to pass by. He took out the knife he bought at the market and said to the group of people, I built this road and planted this tree. If you want to pass by here, you have to leave money for passage. Yananfen wanted to bang his head against the wall. He actually said such a corny line. It was all his fault that he was dazzled by the handsome guy. The handsome guy in the lead frowned when he heard what he said, and prepared to draw the sword at his waist. The old Taoist behind the handsome guy came out to stop him. He looked Yananfen up and down carefully, and finally said to everyone, this young man in front of us has a pure heart. I think he has to do this business out of necessity. Ching Feng, give him some money. When the handsome guy heard the old Taoist's words, he put away the sword at his waist, took out 2 ingots of silver from his arms, and put them in Yananfan's hands. Yananfan held the silver, but did not give up. He took a step forward and continued, "Give me all your money, or you will not be able to pass through here today." When the handsome guy saw this greedy man, he showed obvious disgust and stared at him fiercely, as if he wanted to go up and kill him immediately. Yananfan took a step back in fright. The old Taoist stepped forward again to stop the handsome guy. "I think this young man really has some difficulties, give it to him. You can go down the mountain to gain experience, so it shouldn't be a problem if you don't have the silver." The handsome guy listened to the old Taoist's words very much. Although his expression was still vicious, he reluctantly threw the purse in his hand to Yananfan. There was quite a bit of silver in the purse. Yananfan was hit, so he caught the purse and made way. Yananfan followed the handsome guy with his eyes until the group of people disappeared from his sight. He admired this handsome guy very much, but it was a pity that the handsome guy probably didn't have a very good impression of him. Complete the robbery mission, bad guy points plus 100, total points, 100. Yananfan weighed the stolen money bag. It was quite heavy, even heavier than his own money bag. I didn't expect that these immortal cultivators have so many material possessions. Congratulations to the host for completing 2 tasks. Next, please complete the task of bullying the weak. Yananfan, not only do you rob people, you also bully the weak. Are you still a human being? First of all, I am not a human, I am System 007. Secondly, bullying the weak is the standard of villains, please don't complain, and complete the task seriously. Yananfan, a villain with style should do something big instead of doing tasteless things like bullying the weak. According to the host's intelligence and force, it is better to do some small things to accumulate points. Yananfan was very unhappy about being looked down upon, but he couldn't refute it. Yananfan walked towards the city, thinking as he walked, what kind of person is considered weak? He definitely can't find a grown man, or else he'll worry that he might not be able to beat him. You can't find someone with a disability either, that would be too inhumane. If I go find a woman, will people around me think that I am bullying a decent woman? Just when Yananfan was at a loss, a group of children ran past him laughing. A smirk appeared on his face, and he had an idea. Yananfan followed the group of children and saw them arrive at a small square where the children were playing with sandbags together. Without thinking, he ran forward, took the child's sandbag and raised it above his head. The group of children looked at an adult who suddenly broke in and snatched their sandbags. They rushed forward, surrounded Yananfan, and jumped to try to snatch the things back from Yananfan. Yananfan stretched out his finger, pressed the forehead of a little boy, and pushed him back. The little boy was pushed to the ground and burst into tears. Seeing this, the other children also started crying, and their cries echoed through the sky. Congratulations to the host, you have completed the mission of bullying the weak. Bad guy points plus 100, total points 200. Yananfan covered his ears, the child's crying was too loud. When he heard the system say the task was completed, he threw the sandbag back without hesitation, wanting to leave this place of trouble as soon as possible. Just as he was about to leave, a group of people came towards him. It was the same group from this morning, and the handsome guy was still walking in front. This group of people obviously saw what he had just done. Except for the old Taoist priest, everyone else looked at him with disdain, especially the handsome guy, whose expression of contempt was very obvious. Yananfan wanted to cry. He wanted to explain, but he didn't know how. At this moment, the voice of the system sounded in his mind. Host, please complete the process of teasing decent women/men. Yananfan was in an extremely embarrassing situation at this time, but his brain was extremely online at this time, and he captured the system's information very clearly, good husband and wife. In other words, it's okay to tease men. It's bound to make people dislike you anyway, no matter who you are. He looked at the handsome guy in front of him with a cold face and an ugly look in his eyes, and decided to set his target on the handsome guy. If you can't get it, destroy it. The impression wasn't very good anyway, so it wouldn't make much difference if it was a little worse. Yananfan suddenly ran forward, faster and faster, rushing to the handsome guy, and in a flash, kissed the handsome guy's cheek. After finishing the job, he turned around and ran away without any hesitation. While running, I asked the system in my mind, is kissing a handsome guy considered teasing? Congratulations to the host, You have completed the task of flirting with decent women/men, bad guy points plus 200, total points, 400. Flirting with the male protagonist, the male protagonist's happiness level minus 500, total points, minus 100. Yananfan, who was originally running away, just stopped. This handsome guy is actually the male lead. Chapter 3. The villain wants to be an apprentice. If he had known it was the male protagonist, why would he have bothered to provoke him? Now, what's wrong is that I just completed the task but it was deducted again. All my work was in vain. The male protagonist Gu Qingfang was teased in public, and his anger reached its peak. Seeing that this person not only teased him but also turned around and ran away, Gu Qingfang certainly couldn't bear it and immediately chased after him. Yananfan stopped halfway through his escape. Seeing this, Gu Qingfang paused for a moment, then picked up the sword and chased after him. Gu Qingfang hooked Yananfan's belt with his sword from behind and lifted it up, breaking Yananfan's belt into 2 pieces. Yananfan grabbed his clothes in horror and turned around. Gu Qingfang used his sword to pry open the collar of this scoundrel, and in a few seconds, Yananfan's clothes turned into pieces and fell to the ground. At this moment, Yananfan only had a set of white inner clothes. He had no martial arts skills and could only be slaughtered by others. Seeing him like this, Gu Qingfang seemed unsatisfied and picked up the sword and continued to move forward. Yananfan didn't care about so many things at this time. In order to save his life, he didn't care about his current image and ran desperately into the crowd. The old Taoist priest who had been standing by and remained silent spoke. Yananfan thought that this person would help him like last time, but he did not expect that the old Taoist priest would say to the handsome guy, "Qingfang, don't hurt him, bring him back." Yananfan felt very sad. He really couldn't escape this time. Sure enough, before he could run into the crowd, the handsome guy grabbed him by the collar and brought him back to the old Taoist. The old Taoist stroked his beard and slowly said to him, "I have met you many times today, so I think it is fate. So I decided to take you as my disciple." The old Taoist's words not only shocked Yananfan, but his disciples were also obviously unhappy, especially this handsome guy, who had a very sour face. Everyone dissuaded him in unison, "Master, you cannot accept this person as your disciple." The handsome guy stepped forward and said coldly, "This person has bad conduct and is not suitable to join the Xiaoyao sect. He will bring discredit to the section." Yananfan didn't want to join the sect either. He would continue to do bad things in the future. How could he complete his mission openly after becoming this man's apprentice? He decisively refused, "Sorry, I don't want to be your apprentice." The old Taoist didn't get angry, but just smiled and said, "If you become my disciple, I won't care about what happened before. If you don't become my disciple, I can't stop Qingfang from doing anything." This old man looks like a decent person, but he can actually threaten people. I must have misjudged him. Yananfan was still being held up by Gu Qingfang. He tried to struggle but was unable to break free. He looked at the old man who was looking at him with a smile on his face, and knew that the old man must be certain that he had no choice but to agree. There was no other way. He could still tell the difference between dying now and dying later, so he nodded and said, "Okay, I agree to be your apprentice. You quickly ask him to let me go." The old Taoist nodded with satisfaction, "Qingfang, let him go." Gu Qingfang really let go, and Yananfan stood still on the ground. Gu Qingfang wanted to step forward and say something, but the old Taoist interrupted him with his hand. The old Taoist didn't care about the expressions of his disciples and began to introduce these people to Yananfan. "I am Yuwenshan, the leader of Xiaoyao sect. From now on, you can just call me master. Behind you is your senior brother Gu Qingfang, and over here are your second senior brother Lu Minjiao, third senior brother Yun Pingzi, and fifth senior brother Qin Wenlong." Yananfan knelt down in front of the Xiaoyao sect's leader and kowtowed 3 times, "Disciple Yananfan, hello to the master." Although he was reluctant, he still had to show some courtesy, not to mention that the old man had saved him twice. As for completing the villain's mission, he could only wait and see. Yuwenshan helped the man up with a smile, "Nanfan, what a nice name." Yananfan originally wanted to greet the other brothers one by one according to etiquette, but these people obviously did not want to accept and turned their faces away. These people are so stingy, Yananfan thought. Although he felt uncomfortable, his hands still moved properly. He bent over and bowed, facing the direction of the brothers, "Greetings, brothers." At first no one paid any attention to him, no one answered. Yananfin just stood there with his back bent. After a while, second senior brother Lu Minjiao took out a set of sect clothes from his bag, handed it to Yananfin, and said, "Since master wants to accept you as his disciple, there must be a reason for it. Junior brother Nanfin, from now on, you can ask us if you don't understand anything. Second brother is such a good guy, much better than the protagonist." Yananfin quickly put on his clothes, tears of gratitude filling his eyes as he smiled at Lu Minjiao. "Thank you, second senior brother." Yu Wenshan asked everyone to continue on their journey. With Yananfin joining in, the whole team seemed to be in a lively atmosphere. It was no longer Gu Qingfeng who led the way, but Yananfin who was talking and laughing with Lu Minjiao in front. Qin Wenlong walked behind Yu Wenshan and asked, "Master, didn't you say before that you would never accept evil people as your disciples? Why did you accept Yananfin as your disciple?" Yu Wenshan smiled and said, "Don't judge people by appearances. Some people may seem to have done many evil things, but in fact they have never done anything really bad. Yananfin has a kind heart and is definitely not a bad person." Moreover, Qin Wenlong asked, "And what?" Yu Wenshan continued, "And I calculated that Yananfin has some affinity with your senior brother, and it's unavoidable. Instead of doing that, why not just recruit him indirectly?" Qin Wenlong nodded, "So that's how it is." Yananfin was an impatient person. Before, when no one talked to him, he would still keep talking to the system in his mind. Now that there was someone around who could talk, he couldn't control his mouth even more. "Yananfin, second brother, where are we going now?" "Lu Minjiao, master brought us down the mountain to train this time. Our destination is Gihong village. There is an evil spirit there that has never been solved, so master is going to let us give it a try." Hearing that there was an evil spirit, Yananfin immediately felt scared. He had no fighting power at all. "Is it too late for me to quit the sect now?" Lu Minjiao looked at him and laughed, "Junior brother, don't joke." Yananfin was dejected. "I don't know any martial arts. I will only be a hindrance in a fight. Can I go back to the sect first? You guys go by yourselves." Lu Minjiao patted his shoulder and encouraged him, "Don't worry, junior brother. We will never let the evil spirit hurt you. When you are in danger, just hide behind me. I will definitely protect you." Yananfin hugged Lu Minjiao's arm and acted coquettishly on him, "Second brother, you are so nice." Gu Qingfeng looked at the two people walking in front of him, laughing all the way. He snorted coldly. This person was really an eyesore. Chapter 4, Villain Rescue. Korea at each at struggle at separation. The group passed through Pingshan Ridge. At this time, due to the long journey, Yananfin had run out of strength and was left far behind. Having never walked such a long distance before, Yananfin felt like his feet were no longer his own. He muttered in his heart, "This stinky old man didn't even let them wait for me. How can a mortal like me be the same as them who practice Taoism?" Host, now that you have joined a sect, you can be considered a cultivator. Yananfin, I can't lift anything with my hands or carry anything on my shoulders, and I don't know any lightness skills. I'm not a good enough cultivator. He hurried on while feeling dissatisfied, and finally saw several people. They all stopped, and Yananfin was delighted, thinking that they were waiting for him. Warm reminder, when entering the demon cult territory, the second leader of the demon cult team is in front. Yananfin, you said, is it possible that the second captain of the demon cult doesn't know the second in command of the demon cult? This is unbelievable, host. Yananfin also knew that it was impossible, and now he didn't dare to step forward. If he stepped forward at this time, whether the demon cult discovered that he had defected to the Xiaoyao sect, or the Xiaoyao sect discovered that he was a member of the demon cult, he would die miserably. He found a sturdy tree and was about to hide behind it. At this time, a dim voice came, "Disciple, come here quickly." He didn't shout early or late, but started shouting when he met the cult. He couldn't pretend he didn't hear it, since the master had spoken. He tore off his outer shirt, covering his face completely, grasped the lower end tightly with one hand, leaving only his eyes exposed, and moved forward slowly. Gu Qingfeng glanced at him sideways, and the others also looked at him strangely. Lu Minjiao came over and asked with concern, "Junior brother, you can't do anything like this." Yananfin knew that his current image must be extremely vulgar, but there was no other way. Everyone looked like they were about to fight, and the male protagonist also looked like he wanted to keep strangers away. Only Lu Minjiu seemed to have a better attitude. He walked behind Lu Minjiu and grabbed the back of Lu Minjiu's clothes with his other hand. "Second brother, I'm scared of so many people. Let me follow you." Lu Minjiu thought that her master had not yet taught her martial arts, so she nodded in agreement. Except for Yan Anfan, the others stood in a row, facing the members of the demon cult. Ping Xian, the second captain of the demon cult, saw Yan Anfan's suspicious behavior and kept looking at him. Yan Anfan tried his best to hide behind Lu Minjiu, and fortunately he was not recognized. Yu Wenshan stroked his beard with a calm attitude. "Doing evil is not the right way after all. Everyone, put down your butcher knives and become a Buddha right now. It's so cliched, and yet no one will listen to it." Yan Anfan complained to the system, but the system ignored him. As expected, the second captain of the demon cult, Ping Xian, sneered, and said with a mocking look, "Old man, are you still asleep?" As he spoke, he started laughing, and the members of the demon cult following Ping Xian also started laughing. Gu Qingfeng drew out his sword and rushed straight towards Ping Xian. Ping Xian took out his sword and blocked it in front of himself, and was forced to retreat several steps. Seeing this, the rest of the demon cult attacked. Yun Pingzi and Qin Wenlong drew their swords and stood in front to block. Lu Minjiu also wanted to go forward, but Yan Anfan held him tightly, so he had to stay where he was and deal with some people who came to him on their own initiative. Yu Wenshan stood still, watching his apprentice deal with this group of people. The demon cult had many people and strong forces, while the Xiaoyao sect had only 3 people to fight. The result was predictable. The Xiaoyao sect won. Yun Pingzi and Qin Wenlong quickly dealt with the soldiers, and Gu Qingfeng also defeated Ping Xian after more than 10 rounds. Gu Qingfeng held Ping Xian's hand and came in front of Yu Wenshan. Yu Wenshan still had the same calm attitude as before. "Those who do evil will never have a good end. Considering that you once saved a couple here, I still want to say one thing. If you turn back now, I am willing to give you a chance." When Ping Xian heard this, he became emotional, his eyes red. "You can kill me or chop me up as you like, no need to waste words." Then he twisted his body with all his might, broke free from Gu Qingfeng, and grabbed Yu Wenshan's face with his right hand. Yu Wenshan did not dodge. When Gu Qingfeng saw the man breaking free, he reacted immediately and pierced Ping Xian's chest with his sword. Ping Xian fell to the ground with his eyes open, blood splattered all over the ground, but not a bit on Yu Wenshan's clothes. Yu Wenshan sighed, "Saving that couple was a good deed for you, but they repaid you with evil and you will suffer the consequences. If you join the demon sect for this reason, you will not have a good ending." Yan Anfan had never seen a dead person. This was the first time he actually saw a group of living people die in front of him. Even though he knew this was a character in the book, he still felt terrified. Especially when he saw the scene where Gu Qingfeng pierced Ping Xian with a sword, Yan Anfan felt scared. If Yu Wenshan had not been present, Gu Qingfeng would have dealt with the people from the demon cult as quickly as possible. Yan Anfan thought about his identity. If he was discovered by Gu Qingfeng, he would be dead in a matter of minutes. He had to be careful from now on and must not let Gu Qingfeng discover his identity. The crowd left this place and walked for some time. Yan Anfan really couldn't walk anymore, so Yu Wenshan asked everyone to rest where they were. Finally able to stop and rest, Yan Anfan found a rock to sit on and pounded his calves. Yan Anfan looked up and saw Gu Qingfeng sitting down next to a tree. Gu Qingfeng saw Yan Anfan looking at him with a look of disgust, and he opened his mouth without saying anything nice. "Burden." Yan Anfan wanted to rush over and hit him, but suddenly he saw a brightly colored snake above Gu Qingfeng's head, slowly circling downwards. The color is so bright, it must be a poisonous snake. The consequences of being bitten are unimaginable. Yan Anfan was so frightened that he couldn't speak, and his brain instantly went blank. He raised his hand and pointed at Gu Qingfeng's head. The others were meditating with their eyes closed, and Gu Qingfeng ignored him. At this time, the system's voice sounded an alarm in his mind. "Warning! Warning! The hero is about to be in danger. Please take measures as soon as possible. If the hero's life is in danger, the host will not be able to gain points. No points to earn. That won't do." Although Yan Anfan was scared to death now, he still decided to go forward. He took out the dagger he used to save his life in times of crisis from his trouser leg, threw away the scabbard, and walked towards Gu Qingfeng. Gu Qingfeng stared at him, not understanding what was going on. Yan'anfen ignored him and continued moving forward with trembling legs. Seeing the poisonous snake opening its bloody mouth, it was about to attack Gu Qingfeng. Yan'anfen took 2 steps at a time, rushed forward, and stabbed the snake's vital point with the dagger. The snake was nailed to the tree with its eyes open and its mouth wide open. Blood splattered on Yan'anfen's hands. He took a few steps back in fear. Yan'anfen's nerves were all tense just now, but now that he had relaxed, his legs went limp and he sat on the ground. Gu Qingfeng turned around and saw the poisonous snake. It turned out that this was the reason why Yan'anfen took the knife just now. There was an unusual noise here. Yu Wenshan opened his eyes, looked at the tree, then looked at Yan'anfen, and said to Gu Qingfeng, "This snake is not ordinary. It is the pet snake of the leader of the demon cult. It is extremely poisonous. If you were bitten just now, although you would not die, you would lose most of your life." Gu Qingfeng was surprised. He looked at Yan'anfen who was slumped on the ground. This man was obviously a burden, cunning and full of bad intentions. He always hid behind others when encountering problems, but now it was such a person who saved him. Yan'anfen had been sitting on the ground with his head down, without getting up. Yu Wenshan said, "Qingfeng, go and help him up." Nanfen must be frightened. Gu Qingfeng did not resist this time and walked towards Yan'anfen. He squatted down and supported Yan'anfen, but did not help him up. Yan'anfen usually didn't even dare to kill chickens, and would take a detour when seeing small insects. After killing such a horrible thing, his mind was filled with the horrible scene just now. His body was shaking and he couldn't control his emotions. He hugged the person and burst into tears. Yan'anfen leaned on Gu Qingfeng's shoulder and cried for a long time before she stopped crying. She slowly raised her head and looked at Gu Qingfeng. Her voice was soft and tender, with a tearful tone, "Thank you, senior brother." Gu Qingfeng didn't expect that this snake would have such a great impact on Yan'anfen, and it even made a grown man cry on the spot. He was not scared by the poisonous snake, but was a little scared by Yan'anfen. He lowered his head and saw that the person in his arms looked so pitiful. Yan'anfen's eyes were filled with tears that seemed about to fall, his eyes and cheeks were flushed, and his nose was sniffling, making him look like he had been bullied. At such a close distance, Gu Qingfeng really observed this person's appearance for the first time. Yan'anfen was thin, not like an ordinary adult man. He had a delicate face and a pair of pure, watery eyes. His lips were small and without makeup, he looked as beautiful as a flower. With a face like this and a pitiful look on her face, no one would not be moved. Gu Qingfeng's silent heartstrings seemed to be plucked by someone. He looked at the person who was holding him tightly in his arms, and he didn't let go. If it was an hour ago, he would definitely not let this person touch him, but now, he actually let Yan'anfen stay safely in his arms, and even wiped his tears on him. After a long while, Yan'anfen adjusted his emotions and got up from Gu Qingfeng's arms. He thanked Gu Qingfeng again, but Gu Qingfeng did not respond and just said lightly. Yan'anfen pouted to express his dissatisfaction. This person is his savior, but he didn't even say a word of thanks and had such a cold attitude towards him. She looks so good, but she must have a dark heart. Yan'anfen swore secretly in his heart, "If I save him again, I will be a dog." Host. Protecting the hero is the basic condition to ensure that the script does not collapse. Yan'anfen covered his ears, "I don't care, I don't care." Half an hour later, the 3 people who were still meditating finished their meditation. Lu Minjiao saw the scene on the tree and noticed that Yan'anfen had blood on his body. She immediately walked to Yan'anfen's side and asked, "Junior brother, are you okay?" Yan'anfen was so moved that she almost cried again. As expected, Lu Minjiao was still kind. "Second brother, I'm fine. I just killed a poisonous snake by myself. I'm awesome, right?" Although she was a little bit unconvinced, Lu Minjiao still agreed, "Yeah, junior brother is really amazing." Yan'anfen showed a proud look, raised his tail, and smiled, "Of course." Gu Qingfeng was watching the 2 of them from behind with an unfriendly expression. The smiles of the 2 people were very annoying and were becoming more and more annoying. Chapter 5. The villain is almost exposed. Considering Yan'anfen, everyone decided to stay in the inn today. Fortunately, the inn is relatively remote and there are still many rooms left. In the lobby, a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s or 50s had been staring at Yan'anfen since he entered the door. Yan'anfen was stared at for unknown reasons, and the system didn't give any prompts, so he guessed that the person was not some important person. It is better to have less trouble than more. Yan'anfen didn't want to pay any attention to it. He just wanted to pay the room fee quickly and go back to his room to sleep. Yan'anfen walked to the second floor. Just as he climbed the stairs, the middle-aged man came over and grabbed Yan'anfen's hand. "You are the one who set the fire that day. You are a member of the demon cult." Yan'anfen was shocked. This person actually saw him setting the fire that day. He didn't know what to say to defend himself, so he subconsciously denied it. "Sorry, you got the wrong person." A young man who was with the middle-aged man came over and stopped him. "Oldly, you must be drunk. Look carefully, this outfit belongs to someone from the Xiaoyao sect." The middle-aged man burped, and the smell of alcohol emanated from him. It seemed that he had indeed drunk a lot. He glanced up and down at Yan'anfen, looked for a long time, and shook his head. "It seems that I made a mistake. That person was wearing black clothes and a demon cult crown on his head. You are wearing blue clothes now, and your temperament is different. I made a mistake, I made a mistake." The middle-aged man laughed loudly after he finished speaking, and gulped down a glass of wine. Then he moved closer to Yan'anfen and said, "But you two look alike, really alike." Seeing that the middle-aged man was drinking more and more, the young man hurried over to pull him away and apologized to everyone. Such a thing happened inexplicably, and Yan'anfen's identity was also mentioned. Yan'anfen was very panicked, pretending to be relaxed. "Ha ha ha, I don't know where this drunkard came from, talking nonsense, ha ha ha, how could I be a member of the demon cult?" After he finished speaking, no one responded to him. Everyone looked at him with scrutiny, and Gu Qingfeng's eyes also revealed ruthlessness. Just when Yan'anfen felt that he was going to fail, Yu Wenshan said, "Let's go and have some rest." Seeing that the master didn't care, the others also ignored the matter. Only Gu Qingfeng continued to stare at Yan'anfen. Yan'anfen felt guilty and thought this was not a place to stay for long, so he quickly ran into the room and closed the door. The next morning, Yu Wenshan, Gu Qingfeng, Lu Minjiu and others had finished breakfast in the lobby. Only Yan'anfen had not come down yet. Yu Wenshan asked Gu Qingfeng to wake people up. Gu Qingfeng did not respond immediately. When Lu Minjiu was about to stand up, she was held down by someone. Gu Qingfeng let go of Lu Minjiu's hand and walked upstairs. Gu Qingfeng gently opened the door of Yan'anfen's room, and then closed it gently after entering. There was no need to close the door when waking someone up, and he didn't know why he subconsciously closed the door. He walked lightly to the bedside. Yan'anfen curled up into a ball with his head buried in the quilt. Gu Qingfeng called Yan'anfen's name several times, but Yan'anfen did not respond. He sat on the edge of the bed and pulled open Yan'anfen's quilt. Yan'anfen was too tired yesterday. He had never walked so much before. He fell asleep as soon as he entered the room, but he still felt that he didn't get enough sleep. He, a modern person, couldn't adapt to this group of immortal cultivators. When he heard someone calling him, he subconsciously covered his ears. Gu Qingfeng took away Yan'anfen's hands that were blocking his ears, turned Yan'anfen's head over, and Yan'anfen finally opened his eyes. Due to lack of sleep, Yan'anfen's eyes were still bloodshot. He barely opened his eyes, his consciousness struggling. He kept lifting his eyelids, tears overflowing from his eyes. Gu Qingfeng's heart skipped a beat. He looked so pitiful again, as if someone was holding a feather and brushing it back and forth in his heart. Yan'anfen's vision gradually became clear. Seeing that the person coming was Gu Qingfeng, he asked casually, "Is second senior brother up?" Gu Qingfeng's mood instantly dropped, his face darkened, he stood up and pulled Yan'anfen out of the quilt with force, his voice cold, "Hurry up and get up, we are all waiting for you." Yan'anfen suddenly woke up and stared at Gu Qingfeng. Gu Qingfeng ignored the resentful look and walked out, waving his sleeves. After Yan'anfen finished packing and had breakfast, he started on his journey again and finally arrived at Gihong village in the evening. There was a wealthy-looking couple waiting at the entrance of the village. When they saw Yu Wenshan, they immediately came forward with smiles on their faces. "Master, you're finally here." Yu Wenshan nodded but did not respond to the enthusiasm. Yan Anfin found it strange. Yu Wenchen always had a smiling face, even towards him, a robber. He looked relaxed, but now, he could clearly see that Yu Wenchen was in a bad mood. The wealthy couple led everyone to their mansion and arranged for everyone to sit down. Yu Wenchen sat in the first seat, and the others sat down below. The servants in the mansion served tea to everyone. Yan Anfin carefully observed the couple's attire, and thinking about how they had walked for a long time since they just entered the house, he couldn't help but marvel at how wealthy the couple was, and how they lived in such a remote village. The rich couple walked up to Yu Wenchen together, bowed to him, and then turned around and bowed to the other Xiaoyao sect disciples. The male host said, "Hello, Taoist Yu, and hello to all the young masters. My name is Jia Yahweh, and I am the village chief of this village. This is my wife, Li Kuivai." Jia Yahweh pointed at the woman next to him and continued, "Our village has been haunted for nearly a year. The villagers have no peace, so we have come all the way to invite all the masters to come to our village." Lu Minjiu asked, "Haunted? What kind of ghost? Has anyone seen it?" Jia Yahweh nodded quickly and said, "I have seen it. Many people have seen it. It is a female water ghost with loose hair. Sometimes she comes out of the well, and sometimes she comes out of the river nearby. This female ghost is extremely evil. Since she appeared, no one dares to come to the village. The business between the village and the outside world has been interrupted, and many people can't make a living. All the young people in the village who can move away have moved away, leaving only the old, weak, sick, and disabled who continue to stay here and live in fear. This female ghost did not give up. After the able-bodied men in the village left, she became even more unscrupulous and targeted children. Many children in many families have been frightened by this female ghost. Because of this female ghost, everyone now stays indoors at night. Families gather in one room, fearing that someone will be left alone. Our village's river lantern show, which used to attract visitors, is no longer held." Lu Minjiu continued to ask, "Does anyone know the origin of this female water ghost? Has anyone seen her appearance?" Hearing this, Jia Yahweh and Li Kuivai shook their heads and kept saying that they had never seen it. Li Kuivai seemed to be really afraid of this female water ghost. She burst into tears while talking and buried her head in Jia Yahweh's arms, trembling. Jia Yahweh held Li Kuivai in one hand and said to everyone, "Please forgive me, my beloved wife has a reason for being rude in front of you. That female water ghost often wanders around our house. One time she wandered into the room of our newborn child. Since then, the child has not cried or spoken, and has not approached any of us until now. Kuivai loves her son deeply and cries all day long. This female ghost actually bullied an unarmed child who was unable to resist." Yan Anfin was very angry and slammed the table and stood up. "Where is she now? Don't worry, my brothers and the others will definitely get rid of this female ghost." Yu Wenchen motioned Yan Anfin to sit down. He did not show much emotion, but simply said, "Since you are here, we will resolve the matter. Please relax." Hearing this, Jia Yahweh and Li Kuivai breathed a sigh of relief, feeling instantly relieved, and quickly bent down to express their gratitude. Seeing that it was getting late, Jia Yahweh asked his servants to clean up 6 rooms for the members of the Xiaoyao sect to live in. Although it was already dark, Yan Anfin didn't want to go to bed so early. He wanted to go check on the situation in the mansion, but he didn't dare to go alone, so he went to find Lu Minjiu. Yan Anfin walked to Lu Minjiu's door and pried open the door. "Second brother, are you asleep?" The door was quickly opened. Lu Minjiu was dressed neatly and didn't look like she was going to sleep. "Junior brother, why are you here in my room so late?" Yan Anfin approached him. "Second senior brother, I want to go see the child that the couple mentioned today, please come with me." Lu Minjiu was a little surprised. "I also think there are some problems. I was thinking of going to take a look at it tonight. Let's go." The two walked towards the child's room, observed that there was no one around, and quickly opened the door and slipped into the child's room. Yan Anfin had just closed the door and turned around to find that his other fellow brothers were all there, gathered together to observe the child on the bed. Gu Qingfeng heard the noise, turned his head to look at him, then glanced at Lu Minjiu beside him, and his brows instantly frowned. Yan Anfin was furious. This person had never given him a good look. He ignored the man's sour look and walked straight past him. He walked to the bedside, made faces at the child, and reached out to tickle the child's armpits. The child's expression remained unchanged, and he looked at them blankly. A 1-year-old child actually didn't cry or make a fuss. This was too counterintuitive. Yananfin was very angry. This female ghost is so abominable. She didn't even let go of a 1-year-old child. The others looked at him, and the usually quiet Yun Pingzi spoke up. Jia Yahweh said that his child was persecuted by a female ghost, but although the child could not cry or laugh, his life was not in danger. He said that the female ghost had caused panic in the village, but he did not say what evil things the female ghost had done. Qin Wenlong also said, he said that the trade between the village and the outside world was interrupted because of the female ghost, but he, as the village chief, obviously looks very rich. Yananfin suddenly realized, yes. Why is he so rich? Lu Minjiao touched Yananfin's head and said beside him, don't just listen to one side of the story. There is obviously something wrong with this Jia Yahweh. I always feel that he hides a lot of things in his words. We have to go to the streets tomorrow to investigate whether what he said is true or not. Yananfin was puzzled, aren't we here to catch ghosts? Why do we have to do the work of a detective? Gu Qingfeng looked at him with disdain, his eyes seemed to say, are you a fool? Chapter 6, Villains are also afraid of ghosts. Yananfin felt very unfair. Why could someone have such a handsome face but such a bad temper? Lu Minjiao saw Gu Qingfeng's expression and smiled, not all people are good people, and not all ghosts are evil ghosts. Of course, we have to investigate first. Some people look fierce and evil, but they are actually good people. Yananfin didn't understand the hidden meaning of this sentence. He only knew that every time, it was second senior brother who came to help him out, so he must follow second senior brother closely. While they were talking, the candles in the room suddenly went out, and Yananfin was so scared that he hugged the person next to him. After a moment, the door opened and a dark shadow passed by. Lu Minjiao chased out, and Yun Pingzi also followed Lu Minjiao out. When the two men disappeared and the candles in the room began to light up again, Yananfin saw that he was hugging Gu Qingfeng's arm, but this person did not push him away. Qin Wenlong also stayed in the room and said to Gu Qingfeng, big brother, I'll take care of the child. You go out and take a look. Gu Qingfeng didn't move. Qin Wenlong looked at Gu Qingfeng, then at Yananfin, junior brother, come over here and follow me. Yananfin thought that it was better to follow anyone than Gu Qingfeng, and just as he was about to move closer, he was grabbed by Gu Qingfeng. Since we are all disciples of the sect, we can't always rely on others for protection. He should go out with me. Yananfin struggled, but he was no match for Gu Qingfeng's strength and was dragged out. It is now late at night, it is pitch black outside, and there is wind, making people feel shiver. Yananfin's robe was blown up by the wind. There was no one around, and he could even hear his own breathing. Gu Qingfeng was very persistent, holding his hand and walking towards the river outside the door. The moon today is not very bright and is obscured by thick clouds. In the dim light, the river surface looks dark instead of clear. Yananfin was puzzled and was staring at the river surface. The waves on the river surface surged and bulged upwards, quickly forming the shape of a tornado. Yananfin, who had never seen such a scene before, was frightened. In fact, he was afraid of ghosts. He closed his eyes and threw himself into Gu Qingfeng's arms, holding Gu Qingfeng's waist tightly with both hands. Gu Qingfeng did not push away the person in his arms. He put his right arm around Yananfin's waist and drew his sword with his left hand. The tornado gradually turned into a column of water, rising higher and higher, and when the water column was level with the house, it stopped. After a few seconds of silence, two vines stretched out from the water column and attacked the two men directly. Gu Qingfeng raised his hand to block, while protecting Yananfin, he slowly retreated into the house. Yananfin opened his eyes carefully and saw Gu Qingfeng fighting with the vines with a serious face. Gu Qingfeng was quite loyal and did not throw him out even though the fight seemed to be strenuous. The vines were getting closer and closer. The two men retreated to the door, and another vine extended up from under their feet. The first vine wrapped around Gu Qingfeng's hand, and the other two vines followed suit, tightly wrapping Yananfin and Gu Qingfeng together. Yananfin couldn't break free, and his chest was pressed against Gu Qingfeng's. He thought that Gu Qingfeng usually didn't like being touched by him, but the current situation showed that Gu Qingfeng was really powerless to resist. Yananfin felt that he was finished. The two people were fixed to the wall by vines. The water column gradually sank, revealing a woman's face. The woman looked pretty. This was probably the water ghost that Jia Yue mentioned. The water ghost had a mournful expression on his face, anger overflowing from his eyes, and he kept muttering, "Why did you help that murderer? Why did you help that murderer?" Although Yan Anfin was afraid, he couldn't help but ask, "Who are you talking about? Who is the murderer?" The female ghost did not explain, but kept repeating what she had just said, and wrapped the vines around the two men tighter and tighter. Yan Anfin's nervous heart was about to jump out of his throat. He felt that Gu Qingfeng must be very scared as well. He could even feel Gu Qingfeng's heartbeat. Yan Anfin thought that the two of them would die here. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Thinking that Gu Qingfeng was the only person he saw before he died, he began to say his last words, "Gu Qingfeng, I didn't expect that we would die together. If I had known this, you should have been nicer to me, Weivua." Seeing Yan Anfin's tears, Gu Qingfeng showed a look of pity, which soon disappeared without being seen. He chanted a spell, and the sword that fell on the ground flew up. Then he chanted another spell, and the sword was pointed vertically at the two people, cutting off the vines on their bodies. He held Yan Anfin tightly with one hand and rushed towards the water ghost with the sword in the other. The water ghost realized something was wrong when she saw this, and before the two men reached the shore, the female ghost quickly dived back into the water, and everything returned to calm. Logically, there should be nothing wrong, but Gu Qingfeng did not let go of Yan Anfin. He ignored the little movements of the person in his arms, and went back to the house with the person in his arms, closing the door. More diarrhea. Gu Qingfeng brought the person into the room where the child from the Jia family lived and put him down on a chair. Yan Anfin didn't let go. Gu Qingfeng pulled his hand back, but Yan Anfin still held it tightly. Gu Qingfeng sighed and didn't move. Not long after the two returned to the room, Lu Minjiao and Yun Pingzi also followed. Seeing that everyone was present, Gu Qingfeng asked, "Do you have any situation?" Qin Wenlong said first, "Big brother, there should be more than one ghost in this village." "What?" Yan Anfin stood up in fear and hid behind Gu Qingfeng, with only his head showing. "More than one." Qin Wenlong continued, "Yes, there was more than one. Just after you left, the candle in the room went out again, and a small shadow passed by the door. I was afraid that the child would be in danger after I left, so I hid in the dark and observed. I found that the ghost also looked like a child. Can ghosts give birth to children? Could that child be born by a female ghost? They can't be a family of three, right?" Yan Anfin made a bold guess. Qin Wenlong shook his head. "It shouldn't be the case. People only turn into ghosts after they die. I've never heard of ghosts giving birth to offspring." Yun Pingzi frowned. "That means this child was murdered. Was it that female ghost who did it?" Yan Anfin guessed again. Gu Qingfeng answered him, "I can't be sure about that, but it's probably not the case. If the little ghost was killed by the female ghost, there's no need for him to help the female ghost here." Gu Qingfeng turned to Lu Minjiao and asked, "What about you? Did you find anything?" Lu Minjiao said, "We chased the black shadow all the way to the river, and the black shadow dived into the river and disappeared. After a while, a very high water column rose from the river, and many hidden weapons flew out of the river. My third junior brother and I resisted for a while. Seeing that the hidden weapons were useless to us, a female ghost floated out of the water column, saying, 'Why are you helping that murderer?' while increasing the intensity of the attack. But she stopped on her own soon and dived back into the water. It's very similar to our situation. We also encountered a female ghost who kept saying, 'Why are you helping that murderer?'" Yan Anfin interrupted, "What does this female ghost look like? Did you see it clearly?" Lu Minjiao thought for a moment and replied, "This water ghost didn't cover her face with her hair like Jia Yue said. She was wearing a grey dress that looked very plain and had patches on it. Her hair was long and draped down to her ankles. She didn't look very old, about 20 years old, very pretty, even good looking." Gu Qingfeng said in a deep voice, "It's the same as what we saw. It seems that the female ghost we encountered is the same one." Gu Qingfeng glanced at the child on the bed, then exchanged glances with everyone else. "It seems that Jia Yue is indeed lying." "Yes," Yun Pingzi said calmly, "we must catch him tomorrow and make him confess." Yan Anfin finally realized that Jia Yue had concealed too many things. He saw that Lu Minjiao and Yun Pingzi were unharmed, while he and Gu Qingfeng had their clothes removed, so he asked Lu Minjiao with concern, "Second brother, that female ghost was so powerful, you are not injured, right?" Yun Pingzi snorted coldly, "This level is not worth mentioning at all. If she hadn't dived into the water, she would have been caught by us long ago." Lu Minjiao also looked relaxed, "Yeah, don't worry about us, this water ghost is not that powerful. It's just that we have to find out the truth first and not be so anxious to catch her." Now it was Yan Anfin's turn to be puzzled. During the fight just now, Gu Qingfeng seemed to be slightly inferior to the water ghost. He even thought that he was finished. Could it be that the same sect may practice different techniques, so their strengths are different? It makes sense to think this way. Yan Anfin walked out from behind Gu Qingfeng and ran to Lu Minjiao. "Second senior brother, I will follow you from now on. You are more powerful." Lu Minjiao looked at him strangely, "Didn't you just go out with the senior brother?" Yan Anfin nodded, "Yes." Qin Wenlong also looked at him with a puzzled look on his face. Big brother is the most talented person in the sect except for master. He basically has no rivals. Are you afraid that big brother won't be able to protect you if you follow him? You haven't fought with the senior brother before, so you don't know his true strength. Yan Anfin looked at everyone with sympathy, and said confidently, "Just now when we went to catch the water ghost almost took care of both of us. We were entangled by the water ghost's vines, and the senior brother couldn't move at all." Now it was the turn of others to look at Yan Anfin with sympathy. Qin Wenlong felt that Yan Anfin was teasing everyone. Vine? Entangling senior brother? Not moving. He turned his head and looked at Gu Qingfeng, "Senior brother, you can't just rely on brute force. Big brother can only unleash his strength at the most critical moment." Lu Minjiao interrupted Qin Wenlong, "Were you entangled at the beginning but then easily solved?" Yan Anfin nodded. Lu Minjiao continued, "That's right, the strongest one is still the eldest brother, who can save you in times of crisis, so you should follow him." Qin Wenlong wanted to say something but was stopped by Yun Pingzi. Seeing Lu Minjiao was so serious, Yan Anfin believed it to be true. Chapter 7, The Villain Conducts Investigation. Early the next morning, Qin Wenlong called Jia Yue and Li Quivai to the lobby. Gu Qingfeng sat on the chair with a sinister expression and cold eyes. Yan Anfin had seen this look before, exactly the same as when he was teasing Gu Qingfeng and when he was inexplicably getting close to her. It turns out that Gu Qingfeng's expression was so scary. Now that I think about it carefully, Gu Qingfeng's attitude towards him is much better now. Jia Yue and Li Quivai stood in the lobby, at a loss as to what to do. They seemed restrained as they were stared at by these eyes. Gu Qingfeng looked at the two of them with sharp eyes and spoke in a low voice, "You said you don't know the female ghost, is that true?" "Yes, it's true, it's true." Jia Yue said hesitantly. "Oh." Gu Qingfeng raised his voice, supporting his head with his hands, his expression becoming more gloomy, "I didn't know you, but you became the murderer who killed someone. Tell me, should I give you to the female ghost, or let you pay for your life?" Jia Yue was obviously frightened when he heard this, his lips trembled and he was unable to speak. Li Quivai was also frightened by Gu Qingfeng's expression, but she still took a step forward and spoke carefully, "Mr. Gu, that female ghost is indeed acquainted with us." When Jia Yue saw Li Quivai reply, he pulled her sleeve and signaled her not to tell anyone. Li Quivai ignored her and continued, "The ghost girl's name is Lei Feng, she is a country girl. There was a war 2 years ago, and there was famine, so many people fled everywhere, and that's how Lei Feng got here. She came with her husband Li Guai and her child Li Ziyi, and the three of them stood in front of our door. They were dressed in rags, and when they saw us they immediately knelt on the ground and begged for a bowl of rice. We felt sorry for them, and they had a child who was only a few years old, so we agreed to let them in. We have taken them in for more than a week, and the three of them have no intention of leaving. We just thought it would be an extra 3 people and 3 mouths to feed, and we didn't think much of it. But we couldn't go on like this forever, so we let them work in the mansion and paid them the wages of ordinary workers so that they can support themselves. I didn't expect that our actions didn't earn them gratitude, but instead made them have evil intentions. They coveted our family's wealth, and within a month of working in the mansion, they began to discuss how to seize the family's property. I still remember that it was the Mid-Autumn Festival on August 15th, when the mansion held a banquet to make all the servants happy together. It was on this night that they decided to take action. They poisoned the wine and intended to poison everyone in the mansion. Fortunately, the housekeeper was careful and discovered it while supervising and reported it to us. After such a thing happened, Jiafu could no longer keep them and asked them to pack up and leave that day. Who would have thought that their child was playful and accidentally drank the poisoned wine and died on the spot? The two were in great grief and walked on the road at night holding the child's body. They both jumped into the river and committed suicide. Everyone found Li Gui's body downstream of the river the next day, and the bodies of Li Feng and Li Ziyi have not been found yet. Yan Anfin found it unbelievable after hearing this story, but he thought that the two people's words could not be fully believed, so he did not speak for a while. He carefully observed the others, and they all looked at the Jia family couple with scrutiny. He also looked in the direction where his gaze was pointing. Jia Yue no longer had the panicked look he had at the beginning. His expression had become much calmer and he even exchanged glances with Li Kuivai. Lu Minjiao found a loophole in the words, only Li Gui's body was found the next day, so how did you know that Li Feng and her child were also dead? Jia Yue did not answer, and Li Kuivai immediately followed up, because a water ghost appeared not long after, and it looked like Li Feng. We guessed that Li Feng and her child must have turned into evil spirits, so there was no body. Gu Qingfeng stood up and looked down at the two men, his eyes still cold. Okay, we will investigate it ourselves. I hope you are not lying. Gu Qingfeng said the latter sentence with gritted teeth, which seemed very threatening. Jia Yue immediately nodded and put on a fake smile. No, it's absolutely true. There was no point in staying any longer, so Gu Qingfeng stopped listening to the two men and walked out. Yan Anfin and several other fellow disciples followed him. Yan Anfin trotted behind Gu Qingfeng, and when he was about to walk out the door, he heard Li Kuivai complaining, that senior brother really doesn't look like a cultivator at all. Jia Yue nodded repeatedly and agreed, yes, there is no sign of upholding justice at all. Yan Anfin suddenly felt that these two people were not good people. Although Gu Qingfeng was indeed irritating, Gu Qingfeng in the original novel was devoted to cultivation and had no distractions. After his master left, he took over the position of the head and did even better than his master. Such people can only be looked up to, rather than being accused of not upholding justice just by asking a few questions. A few people walked out the door, and Yun Pingzi said what he was thinking, Li Kuivai is lying. Lu Minjiao also agreed, yes. When the eldest brother asked the question at the beginning, it was obviously beyond Jia Yue's expectation, so Jia Yue's forehead was sweating and he couldn't speak. Li Kuivai was obviously in a better state of mind than Jia Yue. It should be a set of words made up on the spot. When Li Kuivai was talking, she kept looking up and down at us. She would only make such movements when she needed to verify whether her words were believed by others. Gu Qingfeng nodded, that's right, so we have to investigate this matter ourselves. Let's split up and go to other places in the village to inquire. This way it will be faster. The others nodded in agreement. Yan Anfin was about to go with Lu Minjiao when he was grabbed by Gu Qingfeng. Gu Qingfeng said as if it was a matter of course, Yan Anfin, go with me. Pingzi, you go with Wenlong. Minjiao, you go alone. Yan Anfin obviously disagreed with this arrangement. Why are you afraid that second senior brother will act alone? Why can't I go with him? Gu Qingfeng did not reply, but Lu Minjiao spoke first. Junior brother, it is safest for you to be with the senior brother. Besides, I need to sneak back to the Jia family's house, and it is inconvenient to take you with me. I usually do things like climbing over eaves and walls, and the senior brother understands it. Yan Anfin couldn't fly and didn't know martial arts, so being with Lu Minjiao would only be a burden. He had no choice but to give up and stay with Gu Qingfeng. When they reached the fork in the road, everyone went their separate ways, leaving only Gu Qingfeng and Yan Anfin on the road. The atmosphere was too awkward, and Yan Anfin wanted to find a topic to talk about. Why haven't I seen the master since last night? Gu Qingfeng glanced at him. Yan Anfin thought Gu Nanfin didn't want to pay attention to him. Gu Qingfeng then answered him, we came down the mountain this time for us to gain experience. Unless it is a life threat. He put his hands on his hips and said, when this matter is resolved, I must catch the master and have a good talk with him. Gu Qingfeng made a chuckle, and Yan Anfin looked up at him, were you laughing at me just now? No. Although he said no, the smile on Gu Qingfeng's face did not diminish. Yan Anfin rolled his eyes at him, quickened his pace, and walked forward angrily. Gu Qingfeng followed calmly behind. The two walked to an old man's shop. The sign read, Kinksan Tanghulu. The name sounded very sweet, so Gu Qingfeng asked for a string of tanghulu. The candied haws were freshly made. The two stood by. Yananfen was still thinking about how to start the conversation when the old man spoke first. You two gentlemen look unfamiliar. Did you just enter the village? Gu Qingfeng nodded. Yes, we heard that the lanterns here are very beautiful, so we came here specially. The old man looked at the two men and said, you two gentlemen came at the wrong time. Yananfen asked, why? The old man replied, if it were 2 years ago, you two could still see the prosperous and lively lantern festival. But in the past 2 years, the village has been haunted, no one dares to come anymore, and the lantern festival activities have stopped. Gu Qingfeng then asked, how could such a peaceful village suddenly become haunted? The old man sighed, it all started when the Jia family took in a couple. 2 years ago, the Jia family took in a couple who had fled here, and it seems they brought a child with them. People in the village have seen these two people more or less, and they are both very hard-working. Especially the woman, who not only worked for the Jia family, but also helped other people in the village whenever she could. About a month later, the girl suddenly disappeared from the village. Only her husband and children were left, and they continued to work for Jia's family. Some people were concerned and went to ask about her, but they all said they didn't know. After a while, her husband and her child disappeared. Someone found her husband's body downstream, but not her child's body. Not long after her husband's death, the river began to be haunted, and it became more and more serious day by day. To save their lives, no one dared to go near the river again. This statement somewhat overlaps with what Li Kuivai said. It is true that she did not see the bodies of Lei Feng and her child. Yananfen asked again, this couple disappeared very suddenly, and died very suddenly, was it because of some conflict with the Jia family? The old man shook his head. I'm not sure about that. But Jia Yue is actually a very stingy person. We all didn't expect him to take in this couple. The old man made the candied haws and gave them to Gu Qingfeng. Yananfen hadn't noticed just now, but then he realized that Gu Qingfeng only asked for one candied haws. Just when he thought this person was really stingy, he saw Gu Qingfeng handing the candied haws to him. Yananfen was a little surprised, why give it to me? Gu Qingfeng had a strange expression on his face. He turned his head away and said awkwardly, I don't like sweet things. Yananfen thought it was normal for a picky person like Gu Qingfeng not to like sweet things, so he gladly took the candied haws and ate it happily. Chapter 8 The villain wants to stay overnight. Yananfen was very happy after eating the candied haws. His eyes narrowed with happiness and he walked much more briskly. Gu Qingfeng glanced at Yananfen out of the corner of his eye. It's just a candied haws, but it makes me so happy. Yananfen ate very quickly, and soon only one candied haws was left, with red sugar residue remaining at the corner of his mouth. Gu Qingfeng stared at the corner of Yananfen's mouth, and suddenly became a little curious about the taste of the candied haws. Just when Yananfen was about to put the last candied haws into his mouth, someone grabbed his wrist. The candied haws stopped just an inch in front of Yananfen's mouth. Gu Qingfeng lowered his head and took away the last candied haws. The distance was too close, and Yananfen was frightened. Gu Qingfeng's face had already shocked him, and now it was even more shocking. Yananfen's heartbeat quickened for a few seconds. In order to hide his emotions, he deliberately said angrily, asshole, give me back my candied haws. Gu Qingfeng didn't care about the man's vulgar language and said calmly, I bought the candied haws with my own money, so why can't I eat it? This is true, but Yananfen felt unbalanced, it was you who said you don't like it. I love eating it again now. Gu Qingfeng deliberately irritated people, smacking his lips, it tastes good. Humph. Yananfen stomped his feet. There was nothing he could do about this man. Gu Qingfeng found it very interesting to see the man jumping up and down. Noticing that there was still some sugar stain on the corner of Yananfen's mouth, he reached out to wipe it off for Yananfen. When someone touched the corner of his mouth, Yananfen felt a little itchy. Feeling that this action was a bit ambiguous, Yananfen felt inexplicably guilty and didn't know how to react. He left Gu Qingfeng and walked forward silently. As they walked, they met an old man selling beef noodles. The old man clearly showed his dislike for Jia Yue. According to the old man, although Jia Yue is the village chief, he usually does not do things that benefit the village and the people. Instead, he uses his position as village chief to suppress the villagers. In particular, the reason why Jia Yue was so rich was that he collected taxes from the villagers, and each household paid taxes based on the number of people. Jia Yue is just a village chief, but he can live in such a luxurious house because of the taxes paid by the villagers before. Yananfan didn't expect Jia Yue to be such a person, and cursed in a low voice. Seeing that it was getting late, the two decided to return to Kofu. When the two returned home, everyone else had also arrived and gathered in Gu Qingfeng's room. Gu Qingfeng closed the door and said to everyone, "Please sit down first." Everyone looked for a place to sit down, but there were not enough chairs in the room, and Gu Qingfeng sat down next to Yananfan on the bed and briefly told everyone what the two old men had said on the road today. Everyone frowned after hearing this. Qin Wenlong said, "This Jia Yue is really not a good person. He actually dared to invite Master over like this." Yun Pingzi replied, "He thought the Master was just a demon catcher and would leave after catching the water ghost. He didn't expect that everyone would investigate the truth of the matter." Gu Qingfeng asked Qin Wenlong and Yun Pingzi, "Did you two find anything today?" Yun Pingzi said, "We met a woman today. She must have been very familiar with the ghost Lai Feng. Lai Feng must have been a good person and helped this woman, so this woman is more concerned about Lai Feng's affairs." She said Lai Feng suddenly disappeared one day. He had made an appointment with her the day before to go shopping together the next day. When he didn't show up the next day, she went to Jiafu to inquire, but the people in Jiafu just said they didn't know. She guessed that Lai Feng must have met with some accident. Lai Feng loves her child very much. She takes him with her wherever she goes and cannot bear to be without him for even a moment. It is incredible that someone who cares so much about her child would leave her child and husband in Kofu. The woman guessed that Lai Feng had died, and she felt very sad. She often went to Jiafu to visit Lai Feng's children, thinking that she was helping Lai Feng. But when she went to Jiafu, she found that Lai Feng's husband Li Guai didn't seem to care about Lai Feng's whereabouts. Even though Lai Feng disappeared, he didn't seem to be sad. Instead, his life became better and better every day. Later one day, the woman went to take care of Lai Feng's child as usual. On the way to the toilet, she unexpectedly saw Li Kuivai, the wife of Jiafu, and Li Guai hugging each other. The woman was frightened when she saw this scene, and quickly ran out of Jiafu, and never went there again. The woman suspected that Li Guai and Li Kuivai had colluded and killed Lai Feng together. Yananfan couldn't help sighing when he heard this. He felt that Li Kuivai was a cruel person who could lie to them without blushing or beating her heart after committing murder. He put forward his own guess, "Do you think Li Guai was also killed by Li Kuivai? They both drowned, so it might be the same person." After Lai Feng died, she saw Li Kuivai killing her husband and child as a ghost, so she was too resentful and decided to stay and take revenge. Qin Wenlong agreed, "It's possible. I don't think Lai Feng's death was necessarily caused by Li Kuivai." Lu Minjiu expressed her opinion. "I returned to the house today and heard the conversation between the two." Yananfan asked, "What did they say?" Lu Minjiu recalls. "Li Kuivai, Master, you didn't do anything, why are you so nervous?" Jia Yue said, "After all, these people are in trouble in the mansion, and those few are cultivators. I am afraid they will cause trouble for us. Li Kuivai, we are upright and not afraid of our own shadows. So what should we be afraid of?" Jia Yue, "You don't understand. Li Kuivai, that girl Lai Feng disappeared for no apparent reason and turned into a water ghost to harm us. Master, you shouldn't have let her in the first place." Jia Yue sighed and said, "We've all gone back. I won't say any more." When Lu Minjiu recalled this, Yananfan interrupted, "It seems that Li Kuivai really didn't do anything." Lu Minjiu continued, "I don't know whether she did anything or not, but Lai Feng must have encountered some incidents in the mansion. After listening to Jia Yue's conversation, I went to walk around Jiafu's house. I found a family next to the backyard of Jiafu. There were only an elderly couple and a girl in the house. The girl said that one night, she passed by the backyard of Jiafu and heard a girl screaming in the yard, crying and saying no, no, and that voice sounded like Lai Feng's voice. Now he had more questions. Yananfan was so confused that he gave up thinking. Seeing that everyone had finished exchanging information, Gu Qingfeng spoke, "Okay, that's all for today, everyone go back to your room and rest." It was indeed getting late, and Yananfan was about to leave when Gu Qingfeng added quietly, "But be careful when you return to your room, because the female ghost might appear again tonight." After hearing this, Yananfan's hair stood on end. He quickly grabbed Lu Minjiu and said, "Second brother, can I sleep in the same room with you tonight?" Lu Minjiu pried Yan Anfin's hands apart. "I'm sorry, junior brother, I can't sleep with another person in the room. I'm afraid I can't help you." Yan Anfin lowered his eyes in disappointment, then looked up at Yun Pingzi and Qin Wenlong with hope in his eyes. Yun Pingzi and Qin Wenlong ignored him and turned away. When the three of them walked out of the room, Yan Anfin had not left yet. Yan Anfin glanced at Gu Qingfeng, who was already preparing to go to bed. In a flash, Yan Anfin quickly closed the door and lay down on the recliner on the side. It's better to stay with Gu Qingfeng than being taken away by a ghost. Gu Qingfeng took off his coat and put it on the rack, but did not go directly to bed. Yan Anfin watched him walk towards the recliner step by step. Gu Qingfeng stopped in front of him. "What are you doing?" Yan Anfin showed a pitiful expression. "Big brother, can you take me in for one night today? I'll be on this recliner. I don't snore or make any noise when I sleep. Just pretend that I don't exist, okay?" Gu Qingfeng was ruthless. "No, go back to your room." As he spoke, Gu Qingfeng picked up Yan Anfin and led him out the door. The door was opened, and Yan Anfin had already stepped out. Seeing that he was about to be thrown away, he used all his strength to hug Gu Nanfin, crying, "Brother, please, please take me in for one night. Can you bear to see your beloved junior brother being persecuted?" Gu Qingfeng didn't say anything. Yan Anfin opened his eyes and looked at him secretly, and found that Gu Qingfeng seemed to be laughing, but soon returned to his coldness. He was not sure whether the expression he just saw was real. For the sake of his own life, Yan Anfin acted like a spoiled child. "Big brother, you are the best. When I go back, I will definitely tell all the other brothers in the sect that you are such a helpful and reliable big brother. Please take me in for one night, okay?" "Okay." Gu Qingfeng still didn't say anything, but the strength in his hands loosened. Seeing an opportunity, Yan Anfin immediately slipped out from under Yan Anfin's hands and went back into the house, then ran to the recliner and held onto it tightly with his hands. Gu Qingfeng saw this scene, closed the door, turned around and said to Yan Anfin, "If you disturb me at night, I will throw you out." "Okay, okay," Yan Anfin nodded. "Thank you, senior brother." Yan Anfin lay on the recliner, looking at the ceiling. He originally thought that it would be difficult for him to fall asleep in the same room with Gu Qingfeng, but he fell asleep in a short while and began to snore softly. Yan Anfin was lying on a reclining chair, his body felt heavy and he seemed to be in a state between half asleep and half awake. He faintly heard the sound of someone getting out of bed, and the footsteps stopped beside his recliner. This person seemed to have been standing there for a long time. After a while, Yan Anfin felt someone kissing him. Yan Anfin was struggling between sleepiness and wakefulness. He suddenly opened his eyes and sat up, but there was nothing in front of him. He looked at Gu Qingfeng, who was sleeping quietly in bed. It turned out that it was all a dream. Chapter 9, The Villain Falls. Yan Anfin's life was stained. He actually dreamed that someone kissed him and thought that person was Gu Qingfeng. He felt that he really needed to reflect on himself. He had never been dissatisfied with his desires for so many years, but now he was having such a dream about a person with such a bad character. He looked at Gu Qingfeng lying on the bed and felt very unfair. Although this man was indeed good looking, he would never like such a bad person. Just as Yan Anfin was struggling with his thoughts, a dark shadow flashed past the door. Yan Anfin screamed, and without caring what he was thinking just now, he ran to Gu Qingfeng's bed and grabbed the corner of Gu Qingfeng's clothes tightly. Gu Qingfeng opened his eyes and looked at him. His eyes were clear. Yan Anfin felt sorry. "Big brother, I didn't mean to wake you up. There's a ghost outside." Gu Qingfeng didn't seem to be in a bad mood after waking up, nor did he blame Yan Anfin. He just said lightly. Gu Qingfeng sat up and put on his clothes and shoes. Yan Anfin grabbed his hand and said, "Big brother, where are you going?" Gu Qingfeng paused for a moment, but did not shake off the person in his hand. He replied, "Go out and catch the ghost. If you don't go out, this matter will never be solved. If you are afraid, you can continue to stay in my room." Yan Anfin was in a dilemma, but if Gu Qingfeng went out, he would be even more scared. He didn't understand the psychology of a person who was afraid of ghosts. The more alone he was, the more likely he would be scared to death by his own nervousness. After hesitating for a long time, he said, "Then I'll go with you." Gu Qingfeng looked at him and held his hand tightly. "Okay, follow me closely." Gu Qingfeng opened the door and walked in the direction where the black shadow had just passed by. The black shadow did not go far away, but stayed at the end of the right side of the corridor. Gu Qingfeng pulled Yan Anfen to follow it. Seeing people coming, the black shadow moved at a constant speed and led the two people to the backyard. Walking to the backyard, the black shadow crawled into the well and disappeared. I don't know if it's because it's dark, but Yan Anfen looked at the scene in the backyard and felt it was very desolate, as if not many people came here usually. The backyard was very large. The two walked to the middle of the yard and the door creaked shut. Yan Anfen got goosebumps all over his body, and he held Gu Qingfeng with his other hand, holding him tightly. After a while, the wind blew in the yard, and the fallen leaves on the ground fluttered in the air in a disorderly manner, getting faster and faster, gradually surrounding the two people. After a moment, the leaf stopped in midair. Yan Anfen saw that the leaf seemed to be slowly adjusting its direction, gradually pointing the tip of the leaf towards the two people. When all the leaves pointed their tips at the two of them, a leaf flew out from among them and headed straight towards Yan Anfen. Gu Qingfeng was quick-witted and pulled Yan Anfen to the side. Leaves flashed past Gu Qingfeng and cut off a few strands of his hair. Then all the other leaves began to move, and at once, they all rushed over. Gu Qingfeng took out the sword from his waist with one hand and muttered a mantra. A burst of light spread out from the soles of their feet, blocking the leaves. Gu Qingfeng closed his eyes, let go of Yan Anfen with his other hand, and chanted another set of incantations. The aperture expanded larger and larger, and with a bang, all the leaves fell. The yard became quiet again. Just when Yan Anfen thought he was safe, a sound came from the well in the corner, and the scene by the river last night was played out again. A column of water rose from the well and rushed straight to the sky. It circled in the sky for a while, then turned around and rushed towards the two people. The volume of water in the water column suddenly expanded and spread out, entrapping the two of them. The direction of the water flow in the water column was inconsistent, and Yan Anfen and Gu Qingfeng were swept away by the water flow in an instant. Yan Anfen now regrets very much, regretting that he had never learned to swim before and could only splash around in the water. The water flowed very fast, and Yan Anfen not only choked on the water, but also couldn't open his eyes, and his face became extremely ugly. Gu Qingfeng was swept to the other side by the water column. He wanted to go find Yan Anfen but was stopped by the water flow. He saw Yan Anfen's struggling hands and feet, and his heart tightened. He was a little scared, wondering if Gu Qingfeng would feel dirty. He raised his head and glanced at Gu Qingfeng, who looked normal. Thank you, thank you. Yan Anfen was truly grateful this time. Put me down." Gu Qingfeng put him down. Yan Anfen didn't know the water-avoiding technique or the quick-drying technique, and at this moment he had just been fished out of the water. Yan Anfen's hair band had disappeared, and his ink-like hair was scattered, with some of it wet and sticking to his forehead, revealing his delicate face. His clothes were all soaked and stuck to his body. Only then could one see how slender Yan Anfen's waist was, like a hook, catching someone's sight. Gu Qingfeng couldn't look away and his face turned slightly red. Yan Anfen looked like he had just stepped out of the bath. But he didn't admire it for long. The weather was too cold at this time and he might get sick if he watched it any longer. Without waiting for Yan Anfen to react, he walked up and put his hand on Yan Anfen's back, using his spiritual power to quickly dry his clothes. Yan Anfen was originally quite scared and uncomfortable, but when he saw his clothes drying quickly, his curiosity instantly outweighed his fear. "Big brother, you are so awesome." There was admiration in his tone when he called Gu Qingfeng, and his voice was sweet, as if he was acting coquettishly. Gu Qingfeng felt so sweet in his heart, but he didn't want to show his emotions. He touched Yan Anfen's head and said, "I'll teach you when I get back. I'm sure you will learn it quickly." Yan Anfen was even happier, and his voice became sweeter. "Big brother, thank you, you are so kind." The corners of Gu Qingfeng's mouth turned up, and he tried hard to suppress it, but he couldn't, and smiled at Yan Anfen. Gu Qingfeng's face was already very good looking, and this smile made it easy for people to be moved. When he smiled like this, Yan Anfen's heart stopped beating, and he stared blankly at the person in front of him. Yan Anfen suddenly remembered the dream he had. Maybe he dreamed that Gu Nanfen kissed him not because he was sexually unsatisfied, but because he regarded this person as his imaginary object. It's over. Yananfan thought. The two were immersed in this atmosphere, and not long after, the wind began to blow in the yard again. The two of them became alert instantly. Gu Qingfeng's eyes condensed, and he looked around the yard and said loudly, "We know that you have been wronged, and we are here to investigate. Now no one knows the whole truth. If you don't come out and explain it clearly, no one will ever redress your grievances." The sound of the wind in the yard stopped and everything became quiet. After a long time, something floated out of the well. It was Lai Feng. Lai Feng's face was as pale as a piece of white paper, and his exposed hands and feet were even paler than his face. His eyes were full of weeping, as if filled with endless resentment. The first time the situation was urgent, Yananfan didn't have time to observe carefully, but this time Feng Ding was there, and he could see it clearly. He was still afraid of ghosts and couldn't face them directly, so he hid behind Gu Qingfeng, holding Gu Qingfeng's clothes with both hands, leaving only his head exposed. He saw Lai Feng floating in the air, approaching them little by little. When they were about 5 steps away, Lai Feng stopped. Lai Feng's eyes were lifeless as he stared at the two of them. Yananfan felt that Lai Feng wanted to express her sincerity. "Gu Qingfeng, if you have any grievances, you can tell us and we will find a way to solve it for you." Lai Feng spoke in a hoarse voice, like the devil's low moan, "Jia Yahweh killed me, and they killed my child. After I died, I kept looking for my child, but I couldn't find him. When I returned to the well, I found my child was also in the well. My child was actually in the well, and he was so young, he was actually in the well." Gu Qingfeng said, "No wonder there was only Li Gui's body in the river. It turned out that you and your daughter were thrown into the well." When Lai Feng heard Li Gui's name, he suddenly became furious, and his expression became ferocious. "Li Gui deserves to die, he deserves to die. He died too easily, he didn't even feel anything when he died, I wish I could cut him into pieces. Our child is still so young, if it weren't for him, my child wouldn't have died at all." Yananfan was confused now. Could it be that Li Gui is the murderer who killed your child? But isn't he the biological father of the child? Lai Feng did not answer the question, but just kept muttering, "He deserves to die, he deserves to die." Lai Feng never answered Yananfan's question until dawn broke and sunlight poured down from the top of the mountain, illuminating the earth, and Lai Feng's figure gradually disappeared. After Lai Feng disappeared, Yananfan no longer had the fear he had just felt. He let go of Gu Qingfeng and asked, "She didn't say anything. What should we do? Do we have to wait another night?" Gu Qingfeng shook his head. "No, she has already told us the most important information. If we want to solve the case, we must find someone who specializes in solving cases." Yananfan suddenly realized, "Yes, why didn't I think of that? We can just report it to the police directly, you are so smart, senior brother." Yananfan's compliment was genuine, he hadn't yet realized that his dislike for Gu Qingfeng had unknowingly turned into admiration. Gu Qingfeng was obviously also very pleased. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He walked out the door and said as he walked, "Let's go and see if they encountered any problems last night." "Okay." Yananfan was very obedient and jogged behind. The two walked to the door of Lu Minjiao's room and pushed it open. Lu Minjiao was indeed awake, and Yun Pingzi and Qin Wenlong were also beside her. Seeing the two people coming in, Qin Wenlong greeted, "Big brother, you are here." Gu Qingfeng said turned around and asked about the situation, "Did you find anything last night?" Yun Pingzi shook his head, and Qin Wenlong also shook his head. "I fell asleep for a while yesterday." Gu Qingfeng confirmed, "Yes, we met Lai Feng yesterday. She said her son was also in the well. He must have drowned." Lu Minjiao continued, "I found that the little ghost had no ill intentions towards the child of family A. The man and the ghost were having a lot of fun together. Then I heard the child of family A calling the little ghost brother. Everyone was surprised. The child of family A would not cry, laugh, or make noise in front of outsiders, but he actually called a ghost brother. There must be something strange." Gu Qingfeng frowned and thought for a while, "I understand, let's report to the police and we will find out the answer." Gu Qingfeng and others went to the county to report to the authorities, saying that there were 2 bodies in the well in the backyard of Jia's house. What was very strange was that Lai Feng and her child had clearly been dead for a long time, but the bodies in the well were intact. Except for the lack of blood, they looked no different from normal people. Everyone watching the show guessed that there must be some injustice involved. The government sent a coroner to perform an autopsy. They found that both the child and the adult were drowned. Li Feng's clothes were torn, his hair was half loose and half tied, and there were obvious signs of being hit on the back of his head. Poison was found in the child's stomach. This makes it even more certain that this family must have been murdered by someone rather than falling down by accident. The people around were originally watching the show, but after learning that this family might have been killed by the Jia family, they all sighed. The county magistrate ordered people to carry Jia's family and the two corpses back to the government office, and the crowd outside was arguing loudly. Since neither Jia Yue nor his wife admitted it and the Jia family's servants also kept silent, the county magistrate conducted a thorough investigation of the entire Jia mansion and discovered that Jia Yue had embezzled a lot of money from the imperial court over the years. Seeing this situation, the villagers who were afraid of getting into trouble at first were filled with indignation and came out to provide clues. A young woman stepped forward and said, "I am Gigi, a commoner, here to see the magistrate. I have a clue to provide. I have seen Jia Yue twice in his backyard, trying to rape Li Feng. I believe that Li Feng's death is related to Jia Yue." Jia Yue was kneeling in the hall, and he was very angry when he heard this. "It is her blessing that I want her, no matter how many people are vying to beg me. I won't accept her." The county magistrate slammed the table to stop Jia Yue from making a noise and asked, "Gigi, are there any other witnesses?" Gigi nodded and pulled out a staggering old man from the crowd. "My mother can prove it, too." The county magistrate asked, "Madam, is what your daughter said true?" The old lady trembled, knelt down and replied, "It is absolutely true, I saw it with my own eyes." When Li Kuei heard these words, her face darkened. She stood up and walked to Jia Yue. "You beast, I was wondering why you suddenly showed kindness and said you wanted to take in Li Guai and his wife. It turns out you are attracted to their daughter-in-law. I will fight you to the death." As she spoke, Li Kuei scratched Jia Yue's face with her fingernails. Jia Yue had several scratches on his face. He was furious and pushed Li Kuei away. "How dare you criticize me? You went to seduce that ugly bastard Li Guai. Do you think I don't know? I haven't had a child for so many years, but you gave birth to one as soon as Li Guai came. We don't even know if the child is a bastard." The two men fought to the death in the hall. The county magistrate sent runners to separate the two men. At this time, some people sued Jia Yue for demanding high taxes from the people. Jia Yue was very emotional at this time and cursed directly in class, "What's wrong with me charging you a little money? Don't you make so much money because of my hard work every day? The river where the lanterns are released is still mine. Why should you use it for free without paying?" The county magistrate saw everything and found that Jia Yue had embezzled the imperial funds and extorted money from the people. According to the law, he should be sentenced to death by property confiscation. However, the couple never admitted that they had killed anyone, so the county magistrate sent someone to bring Jia Yue's child to verify their relationship on the spot. The child is not Jia Yue's. Jia Yue had been unable to have a child for half his life, and finally got a son in his old age. Now he was told that the child was not his. He completely broke down and rushed over to strangle Li Kuei. "You bitch, you actually had a child with Li Guai. I was wondering why this child didn't look like me. Do you know that I didn't touch you even after I dumped the body of Li Feng, because I thought you were pregnant and could give me a son?" The bailiff came to pull Jia Yue away again. Jia Yue was furious at the moment. He struggled to break free, walked up to the servant Xing Wang, and yelled at him, "Tell me, did Li Kuei ask you to buy arsenic before? Who was it for? Was it for me or for Li Guai? Tell me." Xing Wang knelt on the ground, too frightened to speak. An old man with a white beard in the back row stood up and said, "I remember that Xing Wang did come to my pharmacy to buy arsenic. I didn't give him any at first, but I found someone sneaking around in the pharmacy at night and discovered that Xing Wang was filling bottles with arsenic. I didn't have time to report it to the police, so he ran away." Jia Yue grabbed Xing Wang by the collar and said, "Tell me quickly, where is the arsenic?" Xing Wang refused to say. The county magistrate had Xing Wang dragged away. According to the law, the crime of stealing should be punished by being beaten with 50 lashes. When he was beaten with the 30th board, Xing Wang could no longer hold on and finally said that the medicine was for Li Kuei and was put into Li Guai's food. Jia Yue was going to die anyway, so he confessed his crime. Li Feng was beautiful, and he was tempted by her at first sight, thinking that it would be more convenient for him to take her in. Unexpectedly, this woman was ungrateful, and seeing that Li Kuivai's status was rising and she was becoming richer, Li Guai threatened her with having an affair and demanded a large sum of money so that he could go out and gamble. Li Kuivai thought that she could send Li Guai away by giving him some money, but Li Guai had no intention of leaving. Instead, he kept threatening her with this reason. Li Kuivai couldn't stand it anymore. She was worried that she would be exposed one day. She made a bold decision and put drugs in Li Guai's water. But it was not arsenic, but a drug. She threw the man into the river after knocking him unconscious. Then she fed the drug to Li Guai's child and threw the child into the well. She asked Xing Wang to steal the arsenic and hide it at the foot of the bed in the room. Because she was worried that the use of arsenic would be discovered, she never dared to use it. The villagers outside the door were all denouncing the case in the hall. The county magistrate sentenced the two men to death and would execute them at noon the next day. After Gu Qingfeng and others resolved the matter, they decided to return to the sect. On the way back to the sect, there was one more person around them, the child of Li Guai and Li Kuivai. After the case was over, everyone thought that the child had the genes of a bad person, so no one was willing to take in this innocent child. There was no other way. Lu Minjiao said to take him back to the sect first and wait for the master to make a decision. Speak of the devil, he will appear. On the road where everyone was returning, Yu Wenshan was waiting for them. After not seeing him for a few days, Yan'anfen missed his master quite a bit. He ran up to him and asked, "Master, how did you know we were coming? Everyone else is used to it." Yu Wenshan was sitting on a rock. He opened his eyes upon hearing this. He looked at Gu Qingfeng and the others, and finally his eyes stopped at Yan'anfen. "Nanfen, it is important to exorcise demons, but it is more important to uphold justice. This is your first lesson in the Xiaoyao sect. I hope you can remember it." Yan'anfen nodded, "I remember, master." Yu Wenshan saw that Lu Minjiao was still holding a child inside. When adults make mistakes, children will also have to bear the consequences. "What is the name of this child?" Yan'anfen shook his head, "I don't know, we never asked." It doesn't matter, Yu Wenshan didn't care. All the things that happened before, his background, were not something he could choose. Since God sent him to us, it means he was given another path. Yu Wenshan stood up, walked to Lu Minjiao, and looked at the child. "From now on, your name is Hibaokuo. You don't need to know where you came from, but you must know that you should serve the country wholeheartedly. Now you are also a disciple of the Xiaoyao sect. I hope you can grow up well." Yan'anfen came over and touched the child's face with his hand. Hibaokuo, Hibaokuo, I'm not the youngest disciple anymore, ha 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 ha." Everyone continued to move forward. It was already late when they left Gihong village, so Yu Wenshan and the others didn't walk for long before finding the nearest inn to stay. In the middle of the night, Yan'anfen got up from the bed and quietly headed for Gihong village. "Yan'anfen, system, are you sure Lei Feng and the others are still trapped in the well? The county magistrate has already buried them." "Host, it's confirmed." Yan'anfen, okay. Although Yan'anfen was afraid of ghosts, when he saw how pitiful Lei Feng and his son looked, he decided to go back and take a look. He couldn't call Gu Qingfeng and the others. As a man without spiritual power, he didn't know how to explain that he knew Lei Feng and his mother were still in the well. After walking for about half an hour, Yan'anfen finally arrived in the dark. The government sealed the entrance to Jiafu, and the finances inside had long been taken away and confiscated. Yan'anfen didn't go through the main door, but climbed over the wall. He climbed into the backyard and saw that Lei Feng's ghost was still lingering around the well. Chapter 11. The villain wants to practice kung fu. Yan'anfen hesitated for a long time before finally summoning up the courage to ask, "Miss Lei Feng, the county magistrate has cleared your grievances and your bodies have been buried. Why don't you reincarnate?" Lei Feng turned his eyes to look at him. His appearance looked quite scary in the dark, but Yan'anfen held back and did not run away. Lei Feng did not approach Yan'anfen, but just hovered around the well. Her child, with lifeless eyes, also followed her around the well. After circling for a long time, Lei Feng made a banging gesture against the wall and uttered a hoarse voice, "House, house, house," repeating it over and over in your mouth. Yan'anfen asked her what happened to the house, but she didn't answer. She just kept muttering, "House, house, house." Yan'anfen had no choice but to ask the system for help. 007, what does she mean? Host, detecting the ghost's thoughts requires points. Yan'anfen, Shouldn't this be built into the script? Why do I need to spend points? Sorry host, my ability is limited and I can only provide some basic information. Yananfan, it's really useless. How many points does it cost? Only 500 points are needed. Yananfan, are you robbing me? How much do I have left now? Host, your score is -100. Yananfan. Since this is your first time completing a mission, your points arrears can reach 1000. Do you want to use it, host? Yananfan was very impatient. Use it, and pay it back first. The system is querying. Host, Li Feng said that she was trapped in this mansion. Jia Yue had invited a Taoist to perform a spell before. As long as the mansion is still there, she cannot leave here. So that's how it is. Yananfan suddenly smiled cunningly and said, this is not difficult. The system watched as Yananfan pulled out all the clothes in the room and scattered them all over the floor. He then went to the kitchen to get out some sesame oil and poured it in every room. Finally, he picked up a torch and threw it in through the front door. The fire in the house rose rapidly and spread to every corner. Yananfan murmured to himself, I should be able to rest in peace now. Congratulations to the host for completing the arson mission and consolidating the villain image. Based on the impact range, 1000 points will be added. The total points, 400 points. Yananfan was surprised. This task had been completed before and could be completed again. Yes, I never said that the task is a one-time thing, and I never said that completing the task will only add points once. Yananfan, so that's how it is. Then the task is quite simple. As dawn was approaching, Yananfan hurried back to the inn. Seeing that it was almost time for everyone to get up, he did not sleep. When everyone was having breakfast, they were very surprised to find that Yananfan had also woken up. Yu Wenshan always had a calm expression. He asked Yananfan to sit next to him, and then said leisurely, do good things and end well. Your junior brother knows this better than you. After resolving the incident in Gihong village, the training ended, and Yu Wenshan led everyone back to the sect. After Yu Wenshan introduced Yananfan to the sect disciples, he looked at Gu Qingfeng and said, Nanfan has not yet entered the sect. You will teach him the basic skills. Yananfan looked at Gu Qingfeng. Gu Qingfeng had no expression and seemed reluctant. He thought about it carefully and realized that if he let Gu Qingfeng train him, he might take the opportunity to retaliate, and he would definitely suffer terribly. He stepped forward and hugged Yu Wenshan's clothes, and said coquettishly, Master, I want second senior brother to teach me, is that okay? Lu Minjiao glanced at Gu Qingfeng, who had a gloomy face. Seeing this, he quickly waved his hand and said, I'm sorry, little junior brother. I'm afraid it's not possible because of my limited ability. Besides, I have to take care of Hibeokuo, so I don't have much time to teach you. Yu Wenshan stroked his white beard when he heard that, took Yananfan's hand and put it in Gu Qingfeng's hand, letting Qingfeng teach you is the best choice, no need to discuss it. After saying that, he turned around and left gracefully. After Yu Wenshan left, the others followed suit. Gu Qingfeng held Yananfan's hand, not daring to use force. Seeing Yananfan pouting, he said nothing nice. Since the master has said so, I will take it as my bad luck and teach you a lesson. You can't spit out ivory from a dog's mouth. Yananfan was very unhappy when he heard this and retorted, it's up to you whether you are willing or not. I didn't ask you to teach me, humph. He shook off Gu Qingfeng's hand and left. Gu Qingfeng looked at the departing figure, feeling a little resentful, and whispered behind him, I didn't say I didn't want to. But no one heard this sentence. Early the next morning, Yananfan was still sleeping when someone lifted his quilt. He felt a little chill, turned around, fumbled for the quilt, covered himself with it and fell asleep again. Then his quilt was lifted again, someone threw away the quilt and picked him up. This feeling of being suspended in the air was very obvious. Yananfan didn't like being hugged, so he opened his eyes. Seeing that the man was awake, Gu Qingfeng threw him down with a cold expression. You must get up at 1 a.m. every day. Since today is the first time, I won't punish you. Yananfan was thrown to the ground, his buttocks landing on the ground. The fall was not light. He rubbed his buttocks and propped himself up to stand up. It's so early, are you still human? He knew that if he let Gu Qingfeng teach him, he would never have a good life. This person said yesterday that he didn't want to teach him, but he came to him early this morning. He was really fickle. Gu Qingfeng saw the man fall but didn't help him. He just said coldly, "In a quarter of an hour, I want you to appear in front of me in neat clothes. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Yananfin knew that this person would never joke, so he immediately grabbed his clothes and started to tidy himself up. A quarter of an hour later, he appeared in front of Gu Qingfeng, panting. Gu Qingfeng didn't give him a chance to prepare, and used his sword to push his legs apart. "First, practice horse stance, with your feet apart and your hands flat." Yananfin followed Gu Qingfeng's instructions. He is a modern man, and a modern sub-healthy person. On the surface, he looks like a complete person, but he is very weak inside. In less than 5 minutes, his legs start to tremble. "Tisk," Gu Qingfeng said with disdain, "your physical condition is worse than that of a 3-year-old child." Yananfin's chest heaved, he breathed deeply through his mouth, sweat streamed down his forehead, he was no longer able to refute this man. His steps became more and more unstable, and the trembling became more and more severe. In addition, he fell in the morning, and the pain in his buttocks was now extremely obvious. He could not hold on and sat down. He gasped, "I can't do it anymore, I need to rest for a while." Gu Qingfeng was like a piece of iron. He ignored him, picked him up from the ground, and put him in a horse stance. Yananfin had no strength this time. He couldn't squat down, couldn't stretch his arms straight, and his whole body was shaking. Gu Qingfeng was obviously not satisfied with his behavior and kept correcting him with his sword, but to no avail. Gu Qingfeng felt very angry, so he took action himself, grabbed Yananfin's waist with both hands and pressed down hard. Yananfin made a strange humming sound. He was not ticklish, but when Gu Qingfeng put his hand on his waist, he felt an inexplicable itch. But this person didn't seem to observe his condition. After Gu Qingfeng adjusted Yananfin's squatting posture, he reached out to adjust Yananfin's hand posture. He pressed his entire body against Yananfin's back, reaching his hand forward from behind. The heat from his body continuously flowed to Yananfin from behind, and Yananfin's face turned red for no reason. Yananfin was in a state of stiffness. He felt that continuing to practice today might not be a good idea, so he quickly got up and said, "I don't want to practice today. Go ahead and sue my master if you want." After saying that, he didn't dare to look at Gu Qingfeng and ran away. Yananfin ran out and bumped into someone at the corner. Lu Minjiao was startled, "Why are you running so fast?" Yananfin stopped and saw Lu Minjiao holding Hibaokuo in her arms, and asked, "Second brother, what are you going to do?" Lu Minjiao smiled, her eyes full of tenderness and affection, "There is a fellow apprentice who likes children. I plan to bring Hibaokuo over to let him see him. The child is very good looking and well proportioned. Although he is the child of the affair between Li Guai and Li Kuivai, he does not look like either of them at all." The child was lying in Lu Minjiao's arms, looking at Yananfin with a smile on his face. Ever since Yananfin burned down the Jia family mansion, the children have returned to their normal emotions. Lai Feng didn't actually harm the children in the village, she just imprisoned their 5 senses. She couldn't find her child for a long time, so she had to search for him through his crying. After Lai Feng rested, the children in the village returned to normal. Yananfin walked forward, stood next to Lu Minjiao, and teased Hibaokuo with his right hand. The child giggled. The child's face had the purest smile, which made Yananfin feel happy and he forgot everything that happened just now. After seeing the man running away, Gu Qingfeng was confused. After standing there in a daze for a while, he ran out to chase him. He saw Yananfin and Lu Minjiao talking and laughing, the scene was very warm. He looked at the two of them, his gaze switching back and forth between Yananfin and Lu Minjiao, finally fixing his gaze on Lu Minjiao. He narrowed his eyes, and an aggressive look appeared in them, but he quickly restrained it. He walked over and grabbed Yananfin's wrist, "Come back with me to practice." Yananfin pushed him away, "I don't want it." According to his personality, he would stubbornly complete things according to his own requirements after being pushed away. But this time he didn't do that. He only knew that Yananfin had pushed his hand away, and he looked at his hand that was pushed away. Chapter 12 The villain is angry. Morning. Gu Qingfeng arrived at the martial arts training ground on time. Yananfin didn't arrive. Gu Qingfeng chuckled. He felt that this person would not be so honest. He pushed open the door with a grim look on his face, but found no one on the bed. He asked a passerby and they said they saw Yananfin going to Lu Minjiao's residence. Gu Qingfeng frowned. He hurried to Lu Minjiao's yard and found the door wide open. He saw 3 people sitting around the table, eating breakfast in a warm atmosphere. He glanced casually and the other person seemed to be his junior fellow apprentice Shang Che-yu, who had just entered the inner courtyard. Shang Che-yu sat quietly in his seat and ate quietly. Yan Anfin leaned very close to Lu Minjiao and looked very happy. Gu Qingfeng remembered that when he pulled Yan Anfin forcefully yesterday, he was ruthlessly pushed away. He didn't dare to use the same method again today. He strode into the room, pulled over a chair next to him, and squeezed in between Yan Anfin and Lu Minjiao. The space was too narrow and he couldn't squeeze in, so he said to Yan Anfin, "Move aside." Yan Anfin looked up at him. His good mood since the morning was ruined and he became angry, but he didn't say anything and moved his chair to the side. Gu Qingfeng sat down smoothly and looked at Yan Anfin. "Yesterday you said that we had to be at the martial arts training ground by 12 a.m. at the latest. You are obviously late. You will do 500 more squats later." 500? Yan Anfin was so shocked that he couldn't even eat. "Are you crazy?" Lu Minjiao also said, "Yes, senior brother, isn't this a bit too much for junior brother? After all, junior brother's foundation is not very good." Hearing Lu Minjiao helping Yan Anfin, Gu Qingfeng felt even more uncomfortable. "It's because of your poor foundation that you need to practice harder." Yan Anfin frowned and pouted as he looked at Gu Qingfeng. It seemed like this guy always liked to pick a fight with him, and every time it was when Lu Minjiao was around. Could it be? Yan Anfin seemed to know something and asked the system in his mind, 007, what kind of character is Lu Minjiao in the book? Host, according to the search data, Lu Minjiao is an important person to the protagonist Gu Qingfeng. She grew up with Gu Qingfeng. At the beginning, the people in the sect had a deep misunderstanding of Gu Qingfeng, but it was Lu Minjiao who resolved it. The two of them went on many missions together and trusted each other very much. The relationship between the two people is better than that of ordinary people. Beyond ordinary people, Yan Anfin muttered to himself. Now he finally understood why Gu Qingfeng was always so ferocious towards him. It was not just because he simply hated him. A big part of the reason was probably because he was too close to Lu Minjiao and this man was jealous. He looked at the two people beside him. Just now, Gu Qingfeng didn't sit anywhere else, but insisted on sitting next to Lu Minjiao. So that's how it was. Everything had a traceable path. Yan Anfin suddenly became depressed, and he did not resist when Gu Qingfeng asked him to go to the martial arts training ground immediately. When he arrived at the martial arts training ground, Yan Anfin started doing squats without saying a word. When he finished 500, he was already sweating profusely. Gu Qingfeng wanted to ask Yan Anfin to take a break, but Yan Anfin refused, saying that he should finish the practice as soon as possible. Today Yan Anfin continued to practice horse stance. His collar was soaked, but his face was still indifferent. He did not complain loudly like yesterday, nor did he fall to the ground from time to time like yesterday. Gu Qingfeng saw that his legs were shaking constantly. The amplitude was much greater than yesterday, but this man had no intention of stopping and held on with all his might, gritting his teeth. Gu Qingfeng didn't know why Yan Anfin said that, but now he felt a little helpless when he saw Yan Anfin like this. There was nothing wrong with this sentence, but at this moment he felt that he was wrong. I mean, practice hard within your tolerance. Yan Anfin did not accept the kindness. This is within my tolerance. Gu Qingfeng finally understood that Yan Anfin was angry. Although he didn't know the reason, it was obvious that Yan Anfin was competing with him. He was too lazy to persuade him anymore and stepped forward to pull Yan Anfin up. Yan Anfin shook off his hand and said, "Have you finished practicing? If you are, I will leave today." After saying that, Yan Anfin left. Gu Qingfeng didn't dare to say that he hadn't finished practicing. He was afraid that Yan Anfin would continue to argue with him and he might really get hurt. He looked at the hand that was shaken away. It was the second time, and every time it seemed to be because of Lu Minjiao. Yan Anfin's expression has been not very good since he disturbed two people this morning. Gu Qingfeng gave a miserable smile. Night. Yan Anfin wailed in the room. What you do during the day will always come back to haunt you at night. Now his whole body aches, and his legs hurt so much that he can't move a step. He tapped his calf gently with his hand, complaining as he did so, "It's all Gu Qingfeng's fault. Doesn't he know that I don't have a solid foundation and can't train so hard?" The system was dissatisfied with this point and defended Gu Qingfeng. "Host, it was you who insisted on holding on. This broken system is worthy of serving the protagonist. It doesn't care about him at all and even speaks for Gu Qingfeng. Can he be tough and break away from Han at Giat? He is so fierce at ordinary times, but he is not tough when he should be, huh? The system knew that the host was venting his anger and kept silent. Just as Yan'anfen was blaming Gu Qingfeng, a dark shadow quickly floated past the door. Yan'anfen was so scared that he jumped onto the bed, but then he remembered that his door was not closed, so he immediately got out of bed to close it. At the last moment before the door closed, a hand reached in and Yan'anfen collapsed to the ground. That ghost held the door and pushed it open. Yan'anfen saw who was coming and it turned out to be Lu Minjiao. Lu Minjiao found Yan'anfen sitting on the ground very funny, and he actually laughed out loud. "Junior brother, what are you doing sitting on the ground?" Yan'anfen was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat and breathed a sigh of relief. "So it's you, why don't you just come in? Why are you hanging around outside the door? You scared me to death." Lu Minjiao felt strange. "I just walked in directly." Fearing that he was being wrongly accused, he added, "And I walked in straight from the main door, I didn't hang around outside." Yan'anfen had already put his mind at ease, but after Lu Minjiao said that, he started to get scared again. "No way, if it wasn't you, then who was sneaking outside my window just now? Are there ghosts on the mountain? Do ghosts dare to come into the place of cultivation?" Hearing the description of sneaking around, Lu Minjiao immediately knew who it was. There are definitely no ghosts in the land of immortal cultivation, but there may be some people with evil intentions. Yan'anfen didn't care about the latter sentence at all. "There really is no ghost, are you sure, second senior brother?" Lu Minjiao helped Yan'anfen up from the ground. "It's certain. I can't be more certain. Don't worry." Lu Minjiao helped Yan'anfen sit on the bed, lifted up Yan'anfen's trouser leg, and reached out to touch it. Yan'anfen cried out. Lu Minjiao took out a white porcelain bottle and handed it to Yan'anfen. "I knew you wouldn't be able to bear it if senior brother punished you. This contains ointment that can promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis. It's also useful for internal pain. Apply it once at night, and you'll feel much better the next morning." Yan'anfen was like seeing a life-saving pizza, and hugged Lu Minjiao. "Second brother, you are so kind, I am lucky to have you." At this time, someone knocked on the door. Yan'anfen took a look and saw that it was Gu Qingfeng. Now is not the time to practice martial arts, and he doesn't know why Gu Qingfeng came to his room at this time. Gu Qingfeng was obviously stunned when he saw him hugging Lu Minjiao. Yan'anfen realized that he couldn't do this now. If Gu Qingfeng got jealous, he would be the one who would feel uncomfortable, so he immediately pushed Lu Minjiao away. It would have been fine if he hadn't pushed it open, but pushing it open suddenly like this seemed to outsiders like there was some unspeakable secret. He saw that Gu Qingfeng's expression had obviously become a little uglier. "Really? More diarrhea?" When Lu Minjiao saw Gu Qingfeng coming, she quickly stood up and said, "Okay, I'm here to deliver the ointment. After delivering it, I should go back now. Junior brother, you can go with the senior brother for treatment." Gu Qingfeng said nothing, with his hands behind his back, standing there motionless. When Lu Minjiao passed by Gu Qingfeng, she looked back and found that Gu Qingfeng was holding something tightly in his hand. He was about to walk out the door, but suddenly came back and snatched the things from Gu Qingfeng's hand. He picked it up and took a closer look. It turned out to be a plaster. It turned out that this person also came to give a plaster to his junior fellow apprentice, but he was hesitant about giving a plaster. Gu Qingfeng wanted to step forward to grab it back, but Lu Minjiao turned around and threw the ointment into Yan'anfen's hand. "Junior brother, use this. This is a top-grade plaster, and its effect is much better than mine. Moreover, this plaster was given to you by the master, and you have never been willing to use it yourself. You must cherish it." After saying these words, Lu Minjiao quickly dodged, fearing that Gu Qingfeng would beat him up. When Lu Minjiao left, she closed the door. Only Gu Qingfeng and Yan'anfen were left in the room. They stared at each other in silence for a while. Yan'anfen spoke first. "You should take this medicine back. It's so expensive." Yan'anfen thought it made sense and accepted the ointment. He lifted up his trouser legs again and rolled them up to his thighs, opened the porcelain bottle, and prepared to apply the ointment. Gu Qingfeng looked at Yan'anfen. The person in front of him did not shy away from showing off her snow-white thighs. He had no idea what this meant. His ears turned red and he felt the room was too hot and the air was stuffy. Yananfin didn't notice as he applied the ointment on his thigh little by little. More diarrhea. Gu Qingfeng turned sideways, wanting to look but not daring to look directly, so he stole a glance with his eyes. After watching for a while, he felt a surge of blood rushing towards his body. He realized something was wrong and rushed out the door without saying goodbye. Yananfin looked at the man who seemed to be fleeing in panic and felt puzzled. He shook his head, picked up the medicine bottle and continued to apply the medicine on his thigh carefully. Chapter 13 The Villain Does Bad Things. Yananfin woke up early today. Of course it was not on his own initiative, but the system woke him up. At the hour of yin, the system sounded a very sharp voice in his mind. Host, urgent mission, urgent mission. What kind of urgent task must be issued before daybreak? Yananfin couldn't open his eyes, and his consciousness was not clear. He mumbled, what mission? The turning point of the novel is coming soon. Please steal the Xiaoyao sect's martial arts secrets as soon as possible and return them to the demon sect. The time limit is 7 days. Please complete the task as soon as possible. Yananfin was confused at first, but he immediately came to his senses after hearing this. Although he had only been in the sect for a few days, he had personally experienced that this sect really punished evil and promoted good, and he was unwilling to do so. If the martial arts secrets were sent to the demon sect, it would definitely have a negative impact on the Xiaoyao sect. What happens if it's not completed? First, host, what you should do is to play the villain well, instead of worrying about others. Secondly, this plot is an important note in the book and must be completed, otherwise it will seriously affect the development of the subsequent story. Thirdly, the more ruthless the villain is, the more satisfying it will be when he is eliminated by the protagonist. Finally, if the host fails to complete the task, 10,000 points will be deducted this time. If it exceeds the minimum, you will lose the chance to be reborn. So, host, please hurry up and complete the task. Yananfin held his head in his hands and struggled on the bed. He didn't want to bring disaster to the sect, but he was afraid of losing his own life. He is not a qualified actor. Not only has he only scored 400 points so far, but he also has some unwarranted kindness. After struggling for a long time on the bed, Yananfin decided to get the secret book. The protagonist will definitely make it to the end, so it is more important for him to save his own life first. Mao hour. Gu Qingfeng arrived on time. This time, surprisingly, Yananfin arrived before him. Although the person arrived, he looked unhappy. Gu Qingfeng asked, does your leg still hurt? Yananfin stretched his muscles and felt a little discomfort in his legs and feet. It's okay, it's just a little sore now. Thank you for the ointment. Gu Qingfeng saw Yananfin's legs and thought of what happened last night. He felt a little embarrassed and his ears turned slightly red. Then he replied, that's good. As long as it works. Today we are still practicing basic skills, horse stance. Although Yananfin was doing it in an orderly manner, he was absent-minded. Gu Qingfeng watched silently from the side without saying anything. Yananfin had been immersed in his own thoughts, and when he came to his senses, he found that his movements were not standard at all. He was puzzled that Gu Qingfeng didn't scold him today. He saw Gu Qingfeng staring at him in a daze. He thought about it and decided that the most urgent thing now was to find the secret book. Gu Qingfeng was the sect's senior brother, so he might know it. He asked in a roundabout way, Big brother, I want to know, is what you taught me the authentic martial arts of our Xiaoyao sect? Of course. Gu Qingfeng's thoughts were pulled back. Yananfin continued to ask, I practice horse stance every day. Are you sure this is Xiaoyao sect's kung fu? Gu Qingfeng explained, no matter which school or sect you are from, you must start from the basics. What you are practicing now is the foundation of practicing. Oh. Yananfin pretended to be thoughtful. Is there any quick way to achieve success? For example, I read in a storybook that a person picked up a martial arts secret book and turned from a loser into a master. Gu Qingfeng found it funny and chuckled, where did you read the storybook? It's better not to read such fabricated things. No matter how talented a person is, they need to build a foundation from a young age. There is no such person. Yananfin did not give up and continued to inquire, then, if there is a unique secret book, it should be possible to improve kung fu by leaps and bounds, right? Gu Qingfeng nodded, of course you can, but the skills you practice this way will be more illusory. Without a good foundation, it's like not having a good foundation. You will suffer in the later stages. That's right, ha ha ha. Yananfin responded with a few awkward laughs. Master is so powerful, and Xiaoyao sect is also so powerful. Is it because the martial arts recorded in our sect's secret manual are the best in the world? Gu Qingfeng rarely saw Yananfin so curious, so he patiently explained, there is a secret book, but it is not the best secret book in the world. No matter what kind of secret book it is, success depends on people. The quality of martial arts depends on the person who practices it. Oh, so that's it. Yananfin looked as if he had suddenly realized something. Now it was confirmed that the sect did have the secret book. And it seemed that Gu Qingfeng should know where. When he reached the door, he realized that he had forgotten his sword at the training ground, so he turned around and walked back. Halfway through the journey, they heard some strange noises coming from the direction of Lu Minjiao's residence. Gu Qingfeng is actually a person who can hear far away. His master knows this, but others don't. Others just think that his hearing is better than that of ordinary people. Hearing this strange sound, Gu Qingfeng felt worried. Fearing that something might have happened to Lu Minjiao, he quickened his pace and rushed over there. He came to the gate of Lu Minjiao's yard and heard two voices inside, one crying softly and the other making a deep, low growl. The foot that was about to kick the door open stopped suddenly. He had a hunch that if he kicked the door open this time, something irreparable might happen to him. He wanted to leave, but he was worried about Lu Minjiao, so to be on the safe side, he went to take a look quietly. Gu Qingfeng climbed into Lu Minjiao's yard and walked towards the source of the sound. The source of the sound was in the kitchen, and he jumped outside the house and saw that the window was open. Gu Qingfeng chose a perspective that was not easily seen and looked inside from the window. Due to the angle, Gu Qingfeng only saw a part of it, but it was enough to shock him. The junior fellow who had just entered the inner courtyard was lying under Lu Minjiao, who was kissing the man fiercely. Both of them had happy and comfortable expressions. After just a few glances, Gu Qingfeng didn't dare to look any further and quickly slipped away. When he left Lu Minjiao's yard, he covered his heart and said, Shang Cheiyu and Lu Minjiao, two men, is that okay? As he walked, he thought of Yananfin and became happy. Lu Minjiao has someone she likes, so Yananfin doesn't have a chance, right? As they walked, he began to worry again. Lu Minjiao already has someone she likes, what should Yananfin do? Gu Qingfeng lay on the bed, still thinking about these two questions, and fell asleep while thinking. Gu Qingfeng squinted his eyes and could hear the sound of Han #brother #tidying up. The door seemed to be not locked tightly, and a strong wind blew, causing the door to creak. He stood up, held onto both doors, and tried to close them. At this time, he saw Yananfin walking past the door. Despite the strong wind, the people outside were wearing very thin clothes. The green gauze was gathered around their bodies, swaying gracefully in the wind. He wanted to call the people outside the house to give him another piece of clothing and remind him not to catch a cold. The person outside the house ignored him and walked straight to the next house and closed the door. He was like a possessed man, wanting to catch this person. He walked out of his room and went to the door of Yananfin's room. He hesitated for a while, then slowly pushed open the door in front of him. The room was hazy, white mist filled the entire room, and things in the room could not be seen clearly. He walked inside, and the water vapor gradually soaked his clothes. In the middle, there is a bathing pool, steaming. There was a looming figure across the pool. His eyes were dazed and his head was dizzy. He walked slowly down the pool, step by step, towards the other side of the pool. The person on the other side of the pool had his back to him and turned around when he heard him approaching. Yananfin's upper body was naked, exposed above the water. Perhaps it was because the water was too hot that Yananfin's face turned rosy and she looked particularly charming. For some reason, Gu Qingfeng threw all his usual restraint out of his mind today, and suddenly felt an impulse in his heart. He stepped forward, getting closer and closer to Yananfin little by little, until the two of them were only a meter apart. He was face to face with the person in front of him and his breathing could be heard. Yananfin usually rejected him, but today, for some reason, Yananfin kept looking at him with a smile on his face. He felt like he was a tyrant who was bewitched by his concubine. At this moment, he could no longer bear it, so he took a step forward and kissed Yananfin's lips. He opened his eyes to see Yananfin's reaction. Instead of pushing him away, Yananfin closed his eyes. This was an encouragement to him. His head was swelling, he wanted more, and it still wasn't enough. He closed his eyes and kissed the person in front of him while pushing him to the edge of the pool. Afraid that the person in his arms would get hurt, he used his hands to protect the person's head. He became more and more addicted to the kiss, more and more fascinated, releasing the emotions that he had suppressed for who knows how long. He grabbed the saliva in the girl's mouth and kept poking her with his tongue. Although he had never kissed before, his technique was extremely proficient. The person in his arms was kissed so hard that she gasped slightly and almost couldn't stand. But even so, she didn't push him away, but held him tighter. This made his heart swell up, and his entire body was filled with a huge sense of satisfaction. He wanted to continue, but the person in his arms wanted to turn around and run away. How could he let it go? He hugged the girl's slender waist, dragged her into the water, and they both sank into the pool. He opened his eyes under the water, but found that there was nothing in his hands and the person had disappeared. He was terrified and searched everywhere, but could find no trace of the person. Just as he was panicking, he sat up from the bed. Gu Qingfeng's forehead was covered in sweat, and he didn't know if it was because of the heat or some other reason. He looked around and found that he was in his room. He then lifted the quilt and found a pool of liquid that shouldn't be there. A trace of shyness appeared on Gu Qingfeng's face. There was only one thought in his mind: he must have been bewitched. Chapter 14. The villain was kissed. Gu Qingfeng packed himself up, no longer feeling sleepy. He put on his clothes and walked out the door. He looked up at the sky. The moon was at its zenith. It should be around midnight. He didn't know how long it would take for daybreak. At this time, everyone should be asleep. He paced back and forth in the yard, feeling the cool breeze that was unique to the night outside. After walking back and forth, he was in the center of the room, anxious, and began to pace back and forth. He thought about it again and decided to go out first. He sneaked into Yan'anfan's yard and became a thief again. This was a rare experience in his life. If other disciples in the sect knew about this, his dignity as the eldest senior brother would be in jeopardy. The window of Yan'anfan's room was not closed and was half open. Gu Qingfeng first tried to push the door, but it was tightly closed. He immediately gave up and quietly climbed into the room through the window. He walked quietly to Yan'anfan's bed and looked at the person on the bed. The moon is very bright tonight. The moonlight shines into the room, and I can clearly see the face of the person on the bed without turning on the lights. Yan'anfan lay flat on the bed, breathing evenly. After seeing the real person, not only did Gu Qingfeng's emotions not calm down, but they made him even more agitated. The scene in the dream immediately flashed through his mind again and again, and he remembered Yan'anfan's soft lips in the dream. Gu Qingfeng's thoughts returned to reality. He looked at the person on the bed and suddenly his mouth became dry. Yan'anfan probably had a dream. His eyelashes fluttered slightly and he mumbled something. Gu Qingfeng moved closer, wanting to hear what was being said. As soon as he got closer, Yan'anfan became quiet instead. Gu Qingfeng sat on the bed with his hands on Yan'anfan's side. He stared at Yan'anfan intently, fearing that Yan'anfan in front of him would disappear like in the dream. After watching for a while, Yan'anfan muttered, "Gu Qingfeng, what a bad guy, what a bastard." The voice was very soft, but Gu Qingfeng heard it clearly. Gu Qingfeng felt a little blocked and angry that he even said something to him in his dream. He suddenly didn't want to see this person sleeping. He lowered his head and kissed her firmly. Their lips touched, and Gu Qingfeng's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. After a while, he opened his mouth and gently bit the lips of the person under him. Yan'anfan snorted lightly but did not wake up. Gu Qingfeng stuck out his tongue again and licked Yan'anfan's lips lightly. Yan'anfan frowned, as if he was about to wake up. Gu Qingfeng immediately separated and quickly climbed out of the room through the window. Gu Qingfeng returned to his room and covered his heart with his hands. His heart was beating so violently that it seemed like it was about to jump out of his chest. Yan'anfan's lips tasted much better than in my dreams. But he could only do such a shameful thing at such a shameful time. If only one day, I could kiss Yan'anfan openly. Gu Qingfeng hoped so. Morning. Yan'anfan got up very early again today. He asked someone to tell Gu Qingfeng that he was not feeling well and would not attend today's practice. If I follow Gu Qingfeng every day, I won't have time to steal the secret book, so I might as well not go. He could imagine that Gu Qingfeng would not be in a good mood the next time he saw him, and would say something like he was lazy. Just say it, it's not the first time anyway. Yan'anfan climbed to the top of the mountain with some effort. This is where his master lives. The secret book is so important that there is no other place to hide it. The only place I can think of is Master Yu Wenshin's room. It just so happened that he had asked Lu Minjia yesterday and learned that Yu Wenshin had gone into seclusion to practice and it would be difficult to see him for a while. This just came in handy for him. Yananfin looked around and saw no one coming. He quickly opened the door of the room and went in. Yananfin searched through all the boxes and drawers for the whole morning but still couldn't find the secret book. He hadn't eaten or drunk anything the whole morning, and now it was almost noon and he was starving. Thinking it would be better to fill his stomach first, Yananfin went to the kitchen. The kitchen looked like it hadn't been used for a long time, but he didn't care. He just wanted to drink some water to quench his thirst. He searched left and right in the kitchen and finally found a cup in the cabinet in the corner. He tried to pick up the cup, but couldn't. Yananfin was surprised. There is a problem. The cups are glued to the cabinet. Based on his years of experience watching TV dramas, there must be a mechanism here. Yananfin tried to turn the cup, and the wall behind the cabinet moved slowly. There was a small room in the wall of the kitchen. In the middle of the room was a table with a wooden box on it. Yananfin walked in excitedly and found that the box was not locked. He slowly opened it and found that there was indeed a secret book in the box. Yananfin quickly put the secret book into his arms, then closed the stone door and left the place. Yananfin ran into Gu Qingfeng when he was going down the mountain. Gu Qingfeng looked anxious, and seemed to feel relieved when he saw him. "Junior brother, I heard that you were not feeling well. What was wrong with you? I have been looking for you for a long time but couldn't find you. Why did you come down from Master's residence?" Yananfin was very nervous and at a loss for a moment. He pretended to be calm and said, "I want to ask the Master some questions." Gu Qingfeng didn't think there was anything wrong and rushed forward. "Master is in seclusion and is not here for the time being." "Oh, ha ha ha," Yananfin laughed awkwardly a few times, "I just found out about this too." Gu Qingfeng walked to Yananfin. Yananfin tensed his body and his walking posture became uncoordinated. Gu Qingfeng obviously noticed it and asked, "What's wrong with you? Are you still feeling uncomfortable?" No. Yananfin had rarely done anything wrong in his life, and he began to stutter out of guilt. Gu Qingfeng felt something was wrong and began to look at Yananfin. He noticed that Yananfin's collar was slightly bulging, as if something was hidden. He stretched out his hand and Yananfin immediately covered it. "There is no silver here." Gu Qingfeng deliberately asked, "Junior brother, what is in your arms?" Yananfin began to step back. "Nothing." "Oh," Gu Qingfeng stopped and looked at Yananfin. "Nothing, let's go back, let's go down the mountain." Yananfin looked at Gu Qingfeng at this moment and felt something was wrong. For the first time, his brain was online and he felt that Gu Qingfeng had discovered it. He couldn't beat Gu Qingfeng, nor could he run away. In desperation, he thought of the system, 007, is there any teleportation props or something like that? "Dear host, there are flash items in the store, 500 points each." Yananfin was very anxious, "Give me one quickly." "Okay, exchange successful. Remaining points, minus 100 points." "Host, I haven't earned these points for long, and they are negative again. The system is very sad." Yananfin couldn't care less about so many things now. He watched Gu Qingfeng approaching little by little, and his heart was in his throat. He was really afraid that Gu Qingfeng would catch him and cut him into pieces. He quickly said to the system, "Use it quickly, use the props quickly." Gu Qingfeng saw that Yananfin did not move forward, but was retreating step by step. He knew exactly what was going on. He quickly stepped forward and tried to catch Yananfin. Just before he was about to hold Yananfin, Yananfin turned into a gust of wind and quickly disappeared from his sight. Gu Qingfeng looked at this scene and felt unbelievable. He couldn't believe that Yananfin would betray his sect, so he drew out his spirit sword in anger and chopped at him. Yananfin was brought to a forest by the flash prop. Although he didn't know where it was definitely safe. Now it's time to go to the demon cult and hand over the secret book to its leader. Just when he was about to ask the system, a man jumped out in front of him. He was wearing black clothes and looked very inconspicuous. "Military advisor Fu, you're back." Yananfin was stunned for a moment, then realized that he was being called. The person in the original book was called Fu Ping. The man in black was obviously a member of the demon cult, but he did not know this man. However, Yananfin still pretended to be calm and said, "Well, I'm back after completing the mission. Take me in." The man in black had no doubt and led Yananfin to a small path. After turning several corners, they arrived in front of a cave. The man in black clothes went through the cave, and Yananfin followed him in. After passing through the cave, a magnificent gate appeared in front of us, which was heavily guarded outside. Yananfin knew that they had arrived at the demon cult's headquarters. The man in black said to Yananfin, "Military advisor Fu, please go in. It seems that this person does not intend to continue leading him." Yananfin nodded and walked in alone. Everyone inside knew him and bowed their heads in worship. Yananfin had never seen such a big scene before, and he tried hard to keep himself calm and not reveal his true identity. He looked at the buildings in front of him. The one on the far right was uniquely luxurious. It should be the palace of the cult leader. Yananfin walked into the palace, passed through several corridors, and entered the main hall in the center. There were 2 rows of waiters standing on both sides of the hall, and a man was sitting on a chair at the end. Yananfin walked over, bowed with both hands, bent over, and bowed his head. "Master, I have lived up to your trust and returned after completing the mission." The demon cult leader Lin Jianjai looked up at him, his face expressionless. "Oh, what did my military advisor Fu bring back this time?" Yananfin took out the secret book from his arms, held it in both hands, and presented it to the person sitting there. "I sneaked into Xiaoyao sect and stole their martial arts secret book." Hearing this, Lin Jianjai raised his eyebrows, with a hint of interest in his eyes. "It turns out to be the secret book of Xiaoyao sect. Come on, bring it up." The waiter standing next to him handed the secret book to Lin Jianjai. Lin Jianjai flipped through a few pages and laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha, well done, this leader will reward you handsomely." Yananfin didn't want any reward at all. He couldn't take it away anyway. He just wanted to leave this place quickly. After all, this leader didn't look like someone who was easy to mess with. "Thank you, master. This is my duty. I don't need any reward." Lin Jianjai laughed even louder after hearing this, and seemed to be pleased by Yananfin's words. "My military is still so dedicated and responsible. No one in the sect can compare to you." Yananfin smiled and said nothing. Lin Jianjai continued, "Military advisor must be tired, go back and rest today." This was exactly what he wanted, and Yananfin quickly replied, "I'll take my leave." Chapter 15 The villain returns to the demon cult. Yananfin didn't expect that after he had only been hiding in the demon sect for 3 days, Gu Qingfeng arrived, and even his master came with him. He looked at the well-organized team of disciples from the opposite sect and felt very uncomfortable. Successfully steal the secret book, triggering the battle between immortals and demons. Villain points plus 10,000, total points, 9,900. The points added this time were quite a lot, but Yananfin had no time to take care of it. Yu Wenshan stood in the first place and shouted to Yananfin, who was standing beside Lin Jianjai, "Disciple, come here quickly." Yananfin wanted to go over, but he didn't dare to. He suspected that if he took one more step, he would be killed instantly by Lin Jianjai. Yananfin didn't say anything. Lin Jianjai spoke up, "He is my most proud subordinate. Are you from Xiaoyao sect trying to snatch the demon sect's people?" Lu Minjiao couldn't believe it and took a step forward. "Junior brother, yeah, is this true?" Yananfin lowered his head. Lin Jianjai laughed twice. "Do you still need to ask if it's true when you haven't even told me your real name?" Hearing this, Gu Qingfeng, who had originally had a gloomy face, became even darker. He slowly spoke with a cold voice, "Return the Xiaoyao sect." These words angered Gu Qingfeng, and he drew his sword, pointing the tip of the sword directly at Lin Jianjai. Lin Jianjai's bodyguard Cheng Lin came out to resist. Seeing the disciples draw their swords, Yu Wenshan started fighting with Lin Jianjai. The other disciples of Xiaoyao sect also came forward, and the two sides fought fiercely. Only Yananfin didn't know martial arts and was even worse than the gatekeeper, so he had to hide in a corner alone. He wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape, but there was always someone blocking his way. Yananfin dodged left and right, and a man fell in front of him. It was Lin Jianjai's guard. Cheng Lin saw Yananfin behind him, and he stood up while covering his wound. He continued to hold the sword in his right hand and said to the person behind him, "Military advisor, it's quite dangerous here, you go first." Gu Qingfeng obviously would not let them go. He stopped the two with his sword and looked behind them. Take the secret book back, maybe Lu Minjia will forgive you. You stayed with him for so long, isn't it because you like him? Yan Anfen was about to refute that he didn't like Lu Minjia, but Cheng Lin interrupted, ha ha ha, you decent people are so easy to deceive. You don't think that military advisor Fu's feelings for you are real, do you? Gu Qingfeng frowned, his eyes cold. Military advisor Fu, is that so? Yan Anfen didn't say anything. Cheng Lin continued, among those who are loyal to the leader, if military advisor Fu says he is second, who dares to say he is first? Everyone knows that military advisor Fu loves the leader. Pretending to have feelings for you upright people is just to make it easier for him to get the secret book. Do you really think you can shake military advisor Fu? Ha ha ha. The laughter was very harsh, at least that's what Yan Anfen thought. Upon hearing this, Gu Qingfeng clenched his fists and drew his sword again, aiming it at Cheng Lin. The two soon started fighting again. But this time was different from just now. Gu Qingfeng's sword seemed faster and his moves seemed more fierce. In less than a quarter of an hour, Cheng Lin was defeated and stabbed in the chest by Gu Qingfeng's sword. Gu Qingfeng looked back at the place where he was just now, but Yan Anfen was not there. He flew up into the sky on his sword and searched everywhere for the man, who was behind Lin Jianzhai. Gu Qingfeng thought of what Cheng Lin had just said, that Yan Anfen had been deceiving them. This man liked the leader of the demon cult and was willing to deceive all of them for the sake of the leader. He was so angry that his eyes turned red. He picked up a bow and arrow and aimed it at Yan Anfen. Gu Qingfeng counted them all in his mind. His feelings were a lie, his name was a lie, his identity was a lie, and his lack of martial arts skills was probably just a pretense. He recalled how Yan Anfen stole the secret book and slipped away right under his nose in an instant. That was a level that many disciples in the inner courtyard could not achieve. Gu Qingfeng pulled the bow and arrow to its full extent. I want to see if you know martial arts. As he spoke, the arrow in his hand quickly flew out of the bow and flew towards the person in the corner. Yan Anfen wandered around and unknowingly walked to the center of the war. He was carefully hiding when an arrow flew towards him. Before Yan Anfen could react, the arrow hit him in the chest. Before he lost consciousness, he heard a voice in his head. The protagonist shoots and kills an important villain, the protagonist's image plus 10,000, total points, 19,900. Gu Qingfeng had been staring at Yan Anfen. He thought that this person would at least avoid it, but the arrow was close to Yan Anfen's chest and Yan Anfen did not dodge. He suddenly realized that something was wrong and tried to stop it with another arrow, but it was too late. The arrow hit Yan Anfen, and he fell straight to the ground with his eyes open, full of disbelief. Gu Nanfen's brain buzzed and his heart ached. He automatically ignored the fighting around him and could no longer hear the noise beside him. He dragged his heavy feet to Yan Anfen's side. He reached out and picked up Yan Anfen, patting Yan Anfen's cheek. Little liar, stop pretending, get up quickly. The person in his arms did not respond. Gu Qingfeng wailed. He pulled out the arrow from Yan Anfen's chest and tried to stab it into his own chest. Someone grabbed my wrist. There was a small house deep in the bamboo forest, and a young man was lying on the bed in the house. The boy did not have the normal rosy complexion and looked particularly pale in bed. The boy moved his fingers slightly, opened his eyes, and sat up in bed. This was a place the boy was unfamiliar with. He got up and tried to leave, but suddenly knelt on the ground. Someone opened the door and came in. He helped the person on the ground up and asked, "Are you okay?" The boy held the man's hand and was carried back to bed by him. He looked at the person in front of him, with an anxious expression, as if he had a close relationship with him. He asked, "Are you my friend?" The person in front of him was stunned, then returned to normal, sat next to him, held his hand, and said in a gentle voice, "Do you still remember your name?" The boy shook his head. The person in front of him said, "Your name is Yan Anfen, and my name is Gu Qingfeng. We are Taoist couples. You were injured by the demon in the battle between immortals and demons, and you have been recuperating for a long time." The young man nodded and murmured in a low voice, "My name is Yan Anfen, your name is Gu Qingfeng, we are Taoist couples." The person in front of him was obviously pleased by what he said, with a smile on his face. He pulled up the quilt on the bed and covered Yan Anfen with it. "You are still very weak now, so don't run around. If you need anything, just call me. Is there anything you want to eat? I'll make it for you." Yananfan stared at Gu Qingfeng intently. This person was so gentle to him. He was good-looking and gentle. He felt that he had really made a profit. I want to eat a hamburger. Hamburger? What is that? This was something Gu Qingfeng had never heard of before. Yananfan felt strange. This thing seemed to be what he ate every day, otherwise he wouldn't have blurted it out. But the person in front of him didn't know. He thought for a moment and said, "Do you have porridge? I want to drink porridge." "Okay, I'll make you a bowl of green vegetable and lean meat porridge." Gu Qingfeng stood up, bent down, approached Yananfan, kissed him on the forehead, and left immediately. "Wait for me for a while, I'll be back soon." Yananfan froze for a moment and covered his forehead with his hand. He felt awkward being kissed suddenly, but then he thought that they were partners and this was normal. Yananfan looked at Gu Qingfeng, who was leaving, walking briskly, as if he was in a good mood. "Is he so happy because I woke up?" After a while, Gu Qingfeng brought the porridge over. Yananfan wanted to get out of bed but was stopped by Gu Qingfeng. "No need to come down, just eat in bed." Gu Qingfeng sat on the edge of the bed, picked up the bowl, scooped a spoonful, put it to his mouth, blew gently a few times, and then pushed the spoon to Yananfan's mouth. Yananfan extended his right hand, wanting to take the spoon himself, but Gu Qingfeng stepped back and refused. "I'll feed you." Gu Qingfeng pushed the spoon in front of Yananfan again. Yananfan was a little hesitant. After all, it was strange to be fed by someone. "Be obedient, Nanan." The sound was very crisp. Yananfan felt like he was electrocuted when he heard it. He opened his mouth and ate the porridge in the spoon. Gu Qingfeng fed him patiently, spoonful by spoonful, and he ate it too. Perhaps it was because he hadn't eaten for too long, and Yananfan couldn't finish more than half of the porridge in the bowl. But he couldn't say it directly when he saw Gu Qingfeng's state, so when he was a little full, he said, "Brother, I'm full." After saying that, he burped. Yananfan blushed instantly. Gu Qingfeng smiled, put the bowl aside, picked up the handkerchief and wiped his mouth carefully. After wiping his mouth, Gu Qingfeng took off his clothes and went to bed. Yananfan was puzzled. Gu Qingfeng turned sideways and started to take off Yananfan's clothes. Yananfan was a little frightened. Although the two of them were Taoist companions, he had not yet accepted this thing so quickly. He stepped back on the bed. Gu Qingfeng pulled the man back and asked, "Why are you running?" Yananfan struggled, "Brother, it's still broad daylight, isn't it bad?" Gu Qingfeng looked at the person in front of him, was stunned for a moment, and then laughed out loud, raised his hand and knocked Yananfan on the head. "What are you thinking about? You are still so weak, how could I be so beastly? I want to take off your clothes and let you lie down and rest for a while." Yananfan touched his forehead. "It didn't hurt at all, just like he was touched. I just woke up not long ago, and I fell asleep again." Gu Qingfeng helped him lie down, and then he lay down beside him. "Your body's vitality has not yet recovered. You may feel tired often in the next few days. Sleeping will recover faster." "Oh," Yananfan obeyed and closed his eyes. He actually wasn't sleepy, so he closed his eyes and rested. After closing his eyes, Yananfan felt someone was watching him. For some reason he didn't dare to open his eyes, so he had to breathe heavier and pretend to be asleep. The person next to him held his hand under the quilt, moved closer to him little by little, and hugged him in his arms. The body temperature of this person was continuously transmitted to him. The person next to me didn't seem to be sleepy at all. Hugging him was not enough. I gently stroked his face with my hands, tracing his appearance, eyebrows, eyes, nose, and mouth. The man's hand stopped on his mouth and stroked back and forth. Yananfan felt a little itchy, but he didn't dare to move and endured it. After a while, the hand left, and something soft pressed against his mouth, then separated again. Yananfan's mind was splitting, but he was still trying hard to pretend to be asleep. The person next to him said, "Luckily you woke up, otherwise I don't know what I would have done. Thank you for being alive and coming back to me." Hearing this, Yananfan fell silent. It seemed that this Gu Qingfeng was really in love with him in the past, but he didn't have that strong feeling now, and he always felt a little sorry for this person. Chapter 16, Villains are also afraid of ghosts. That day, Gu Qingfeng was called away by someone, and it sounded like it was something within the sect. Yananfan was bored, and his health improved a lot. He could walk around freely. He walked around the yard and remembered that although he was a member of the sect, he had never seen other disciples. Thinking that this place should also be the sect's residence, Yananfan decided to go out and take a look. He walked through the bamboo forest outside the house for a long time but couldn't get out, and his clothes were torn. He wanted to go back the same way, but he lost his way and wandered aimlessly in the bamboo forest. I went out at noon and didn't go out until evening. Seeing that it was getting dark, Yananfan wanted to cry. If I had known this, I wouldn't have wandered around. The wind began to blow in the bamboo forest, and the temperature dropped sharply at night. His clothes were a little cold, and he sneezed. If I stay where I am, I might freeze to death. He had no choice but to get up and keep walking. The moonlight was dim and could not illuminate the path in the bamboo forest, so Yananfan had to rely on his hands to grope his way forward. There were some strange noises in the bamboo forest. Yananfan was scared and walked faster and faster. Suddenly, he was tripped by a stone under his feet and fell on the road. This completely broke Yananfan's patience. He shed silent tears, crouched beside the bamboo with his feet in his arms, and prayed quietly, "Go away, all ghosts, go away." After a while, a dark shadow appeared in the bamboo forest and quickly approached Yananfan. Just as Yananfan was about to run away, his hand was grabbed. "Let me go, let me go." Yafeng shook his hands desperately. "Nanan, it's me." The voice sounded familiar. Yananfan turned around and saw it was Gu Qingfeng. Yananfan threw himself into Gu Qingfeng's arms and grabbed Gu Qingfeng's clothes tightly. "Wow, I thought I was going to be taken away by a ghost. I was scared to death." Gu Qingfeng's voice was trembling. It's okay, I'm here." Yananfan was carried back to his residence by Gu Qingfeng. With the help of the light in the house, he found that Gu Qingfeng's hair was slightly messy, his clothes were torn, and his expression was very serious. He was put on the bed by Gu Qingfeng, who looked at him with deep eyes. "Nanan, if you want to go somewhere, tell me in advance and I will take you there. Don't disappear by yourself like this, otherwise, I will be scared."